Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. Can you bring us up, David? Hello, hello. Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. It is 5:33. Apologize for the few-minute delay. We're working through audio stuff. I think we've got everything up and running. The stream is live. We should be good to go. For the benefit of those visiting, the first part of the meeting will be a workshop, and then we'll transition into our regular meeting. I'll start out by establishing quorum. Councilman Kendrick. Here. Councilperson Hibbs.
Here.
Councilman Fowler. Here. Councilman Anderson.
Here.
Councilman Bryant.
Here.
And myself, Mayor, so we have a quorum. Let's go ahead and do the pledge and invocation up front. Do we have a volunteer to pray us in? Sure. And do the pledge first.
Okay, pledge first. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. We just thank you for everything that you're doing for us and for this town and your blessings that you pour out on us, Lord. We just continue to lift those families up that have been impacted by the floods, Lord. And we don't always know the reasons and the purposes, Lord, but we just trust in your will. We pray for your will on this city. And we just pray for your will over tonight. We ask that you give us ears to hear one another and hearts to receive it, Lord. Help us to be budget-minded and a representative of the citizens. And we just pray that you just watch us all and keep us safe on the way home. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, so again, we're going to do a budget workshop, again, for the visitors. As a town, we're obligated to put together a budget and have it turned in, posted, registered with the county, so on and so forth, by the end of the fiscal year, which is September 30. So we're going to, this is one of probably a couple of sessions that we'll have where we talk through the budget. Doug and Tracy have kindly offered over the last few weeks to kind of get us started, so they've done a lot of the footwork. And where did Teresa go? Oh, she's down there. Okay.
Here.
And Secretary Teresa is here also. She's our accounting/finance person, so she's here because she's helped put a lot of this material together for us as well to answer questions. We have in the packet quite a bit of information from past years. And let me see, I'm going to pass this out also. This is some material. I don't know that this...
I have that.
Do you?
We have this.
Okay. Did you get copies of
We
it?
have it.
Okay. Do you guys have copies of this as well? The projections that Teresa put together? Go ahead and pass it down.
No, I don't have that one, I don't think.
So she's been working up to the moment to try to figure out every outstanding bill that we can predict between now and September 30, so that we can get a good handle on what's outstanding that we're going to have to allow for, so we don't budget away dollars that we need to reserve to pay bills. So Teresa and Doug, I'll kind of hand it over to you guys if you want to kind of get us started on where you are. We have I guess we probably need to start out on the sheet that has the highlighting on it. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay, so that's the October 2025 to September 2026.
correct.
And it's kind of a rough end. And I know you guys have some more stuff, so if you just kind of get us started on that conversation, please.
So I'm going to take the income and I'm going to let Doug explain the payable. All right, so
I was just going to tell you
Make sure you speak into the mic, guys, so they can hear us online, please.
so that way we know where the stuff's going to go.
will you?
Go ahead.
All right, so the first one, line, or item 3,000, that's going to be our income for July, August, and September. We're projecting that to be $61,708. All right, then we have our franchise fees. What we did was we averaged this out over 12 months on everything as far as income goes, and we come up with a total of $344,508.
Okay, wait a minute, where is that at?
Okay, so the 282. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so the 282 that you see there at the bottom, on that bottom figure, under income,
Yes.
is 282? It's hard to see it on these pieces.
282.8?
Yeah, 282.8. 2,082.
Okay, I've got it, 282.8, it's up at the top
All
corner
right.
of the page. Got
So
it.
if you look at 3,000, the first one at the top highlighted in yellow,
Yep,
we're gonna stick that $61,708 in there. That brings us to 344,508 on our total income.
got it.
Make sense?
So we're changing 282,800 is our projection for income to
344,508.
44,508, okay? And so that's running out our franchise fees, best guess, for Encore and FEC. That's running out our solid waste fees. And it's also running out our sales tax revenue, right? So you're bundling all those together?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, one thing that we need to expect before the year end is another 3% increase for Blackjack, which would be in line with the CPI. That's not projected in these figures.
3%?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Tracy, a question. So what is the 344.5? How much, is that more
That's our total income.
income
Yeah.
over, now what was our total income in previous years? How
The
we're
total
seeing,
income for the previous year was $346,453.82.
so basically
So
the
that's-
same thing.
So
That's the
we're
bare income
real
projected?
close, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions on income?
No, I guess, is there anything there that could jump up and surprise us? I don't guess there is. I mean, sales tax revenue has been pretty consistent. I wouldn't plan necessarily on a lot of growth there, but if it just holds to what it has been,
And-
it should be there. And so the only thing we're predicting increase on is solid waste.
Correct.
That's 1,700.
Now, Tracy,
Now, 3% though, is that a rate increase? Because our franchise fee doesn't go up as a rate increase, our franchise fee is fixed.
Our franchise fee is fixed. However, if the CPI goes up according to our contract, Blackjack can increase according to CPI, which they plan on doing. They did last year at 3%, and we're gonna do it again this year at 3%. And I checked the CPI, and it's in line.
But that doesn't change our income.
But that doesn't
from them.
change the $6 or
That
$7
just
we
changes
get.
our,
What they're gonna charge the customers.
correct.
Yeah, but we don't,
But that's not
We
going to
don't
benefit
benefit
us.
from the CPI.
No.
It only affects the customers.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So we're leaving the expected
This is
revenue from Blackjack pretty much the same. I mean, what changes that is people moving in and out of
that's all.
Correct, correct.
right?
Yes.
Or canceling trash service or adding trash service, but I would leave that flat.
Okay.
Because not enough people are going to move into poetry in the next year to move the needle on that. Anybody
Right.
disagree?
No, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Tom, you have a
See-
question?
yeah, I noticed the use of prior year's excess is zero, or at least I think it is, where last year it was, if I'm reading it right, 68,000? And the
Yes,
year
that's
before
correct.
that, it was 38. So there's no excess available?
No, there is.
No, there is. That's at $61,708.05.
Okay, repeat that,
This-
61,000.
$61,708.05.
So, okay, so in that top line, it should show 61,000 something?
Yeah.
$61,708.05.
This will be
Okay,
So that's our
We didn't-
carryover from current year.
Yes.
right.
I mean, I was working on this until this evening, so by the time this went to print last week, we didn't have those figures. And that's gonna be an average, it could be more. I doubt that it'll be less, but it could be more.
Well, I was just wondering why, if we'd used it all up last year,
No.
because it was just
Yeah.
zero. Okay.
No.
Anyway, you
There's
answered.
always going to be some carryover.
Yeah, always.
This carryover.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's based on, if we just run out, based on the averages we're receiving from each of these sources for the next 3 months,
I got
that's
you.
about what we'll get.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay? So adding that $61,708 and a nickel is what drives our total income to the $344,508.
I got it.
Right?
Okay,
That's
thank
the
you.
increase.
Okay. But you minus the 13.
Okay, so that takes care of income for the moment.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, and then Doug, expenses, so that's the bottom 2/3 of the page.
I guess while we're on income, remind me what when we get franchise fee payments from Encore and FEC.
Quarterly,
So, well,
Talk into the mic, Teresa. so-
so Encores are they're on a different schedule than us. We'll receive one more payment from Encore. We've already received a payment from Blackjack. We'll not receive another payment until October. And so the only income that we expect to receive for this period is going to be from Encore.
Okay.
The $11,000 that we deposited last week is not in this total from Blackjack. And FEC, we'll receive one more payment from FEC. They haven't paid for quarter 2 yet.
Now, how does that work accounting-wise, Teresa? If we receive the payment in October, but if it's for services rendered during the fiscal year, we post it for the fiscal year, is that correct?
No, so we received a payment in October of last year for Blackjack and these other companies. That's already in our income for this year. So we receive quarters 4, 1, 2, and 3. But
Okay.
with Encore, we receive a fourth quarter payment because we'll receive a payment from them. Their cutoff is August 31st, so we'll get a payment in September from Encore.
Okay, so they hang over, so that
Yes.
October check will go towards next year's budget?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Which we've already factored in.
okay, got it.
Thank you.
So we think we're okay on sort of a rolling basis, everything is
I
within
project
this
it,
window?
I project it to be a little bit more, not a lot, not anything to get excited about, but I project that it could be more than what we're figuring out.
Well,
Like I
that's,
said, we averaged it based on a 12-month period in each category. And then Teresa went in and factored in, the use of prior year excess. And we factored, I factored that in after I got those numbers. So that's where we're at.
so Teresa, from an accounting perspective, is there any issue with us predicting a number in our budget for income and then exceeding that by a little bit actually? Does that cause any problem?
There wouldn't be a problem. So whenever we set the budget and you have your final approval, if, we'll know better, but what we did was we looked at what we had presently in the general fund. We added in what we expected to receive additionally in income. We subtracted out what we expect the next 3 months of expenses to be. But as far as just the income, we just took what we presently had, we looked at what more we would have, and that's how we were
Well,
arrived
I'm
at that
making
number.
this up, but let's pretend we're expecting 100,000 in income in this next fiscal year, and we end up making 105,000 or something. I mean, to me, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
In addition to the 344,000, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would rather
That's
under
fine.
budget.
I would rather do that than say we're going to get
Correct.
344 and we end up with 300. Now
Exactly.
we've got to explain a $44,000 shortfall.
Right.
So, okay, so that's not a problem. Good.
And then you would see that money carry over again into the use of prior year's excess.
Right. Yeah,
And
we
then
don't
we
lose
would
the
be
money.
able to
we just-
budget that for the following year.
I mean, in a perfect world, we want to get as close as possible, but there's some of these variables that are
Right.
hard to get down to the dollars and cents. Okay, expenses, Doug.
okay, if you don't mind, first of all,
You're on.
with the people here and then maybe watching, I just wanted to make sure, because when we were talking prior to May, we were telling folks how we really wanted to make things transparent and so forth and so on. So what we did in the budget for this year, we did some categorizing things that would look easier as we run the totals. So, for instance, then, and I think it was in a discussion in the council previously, we'll take roads, since roads is a big thing. What we've done in the budget, we've labeled things like capital and operational. And when we do capital is going to be the major road repairs that we're going to be doing for the year. And then, of course, the pothole repairs and things, that's kind of an operational deal. Two things it covers. Number one is we'll know more of how much we're spending on each road if we were ever asked, and plus we'll know exactly which roads have been getting repaired through the year. So those are some of the things that you come out in the budget. Professional services is another new one that we cleaned up a little bit. Professional services that's just where our engineering, legal fees, things that are professional vendors that we're going to be using through the year. So this way, we can always, do bids and things for service, but at least now we've got a running total in professional service so we keep up with our totals in those areas. So as everybody can see, even tonight, as mayor has also stipulated on the agenda how we've got our reporting for finance. So we're making it look a lot easier so we can keep up with some of this stuff that's kind of been in discussions in the past. So.
And I'm going to tag on to what Doug is saying. So he and I made a conscious effort to be as transparent. So moving forward, every month you will see this budget. And every month you will see how much we've taken from the budget in the categories listed as expenses. And I just think it makes, I think it makes the town look good because we're doing that and people can actually see how much money we have left and where we're going to go with that down the road.
Teresa, a question for you. I think you've answered this to me already, but so when I look at this budget overview, I see a column for each month of the fiscal year, but we really only get values out at the end of the year. We don't sort of get what did we spend this month and what did we spend that month. And did you tell me that was kind of a QuickBooks?
Yes, so we budget annually. We do not budget monthly.
Right.
But you can always look to see what percentage we're at. If we're at 51% of budget, we should be just mid-year, 25%, 75%. But we could budget monthly, it's just difficult. So we budget annually. We're on an
Okay.
annual budget that ends on the September 30th of each year.
Right, because I know that's confusing to some people.
It
It
is.
was to me in the beginning. It's like, yeah, but what did we spend back in this month? Well, all I
Right.
can tell you is what we spent to date.
Yes, and we can always pull a report if somebody wants to know exactly what we spent in a certain amount.
Right.
But we're able to pull that. It just doesn't populate on this report.
And I think that's a good habit for us to get in, is pull a monthly report and so we can compare them.
Right.
Now, Teresa, isn't that because we're on an accrual basis, not a cash basis? The reason these monthly amounts will be changing?
No, but if you don't know which month you're going to do road repair, if you say, I'm budgeting $35,000, I'm going to spend that over the year. If you don't say I'm going to spend, like capital, 7 months at $5,000, you would need to each month you would have to budget, you'd have to stick to that. So we're budgeting, like for instance, Hunt County road refurbishment, which is a capital expenditure, you're budgeting $65,000 a year, and then for Kaufman County, $35,000. That would have to be split to the exact month.
Right.
And we don't know, it's unforeseen at the moment. The
Well, there's a
council.
lot of variables. It could be availability
Yeah.
of crews, weather. I mean, there's
Exactly,
it's-
you know,
it's
or-
the odds of us getting out of whack with the
Right.
monthly
Yes.
projection. For the year, we'd be fine.
Yes, you'd be
But on
fine.
the monthly projection
Yeah, you're
or
gonna-
monthly totals, we'd look squirrely. We're not going to look.
So we are on a cash basis then, not
You're-
accrual?
Well, the auditors will push you into accrual as far as your insurances and items like that, but we are like a modified cash basis. Our income is as received, and our expenses are not accrued.
Right.
Okay. Now, but the other one is that on professional fees, it shows 0. Is there something we need to add in there?
Well, I think you're looking at the hierarchy, professional fees as a whole, and then below it, it is split out between professional fees services and
Yes.
professional fees consultants. So,
Can we use the account numbers to help me?
yes, so he's looking at account number 5600,
Okay.
and you have professional services.
Yes.
Below that, you'll see 5610 is engineering services, and 5620 is engineering consultants.
Yes.
Right, but we
Oh,
have
so-
$0 allocated right now.
Right, and that's what this meeting is for.
Yeah, we're
So
just
we-
still on the
we can
workshop.
Gotcha.
Go
And
through
the-
our.
Magnifying.
Yeah, we still had
expenses.
questions with engineering and
Okay.
and things like that
Yeah.
later on. But this is one of the things that we really wanted to have the ability to open up, so it comes back to the individual line that we can actually see, and plus we can keep track of.
Okay.
But can I ask, why are we sitting here with a budget and we haven't even set goals and objectives for the year?
So we have to do a budget as
No,
required by
I
law.
understand we have to have it by September
Right.
1, but why haven't we already set our goals?
Well, part of the problem, put your mic down just a little bit, Dale, so I can hear you better. You know, part of the challenge, as we know, is we can only have a discussion with all of us
Yeah.
sitting in front of the public, right? So this workshop is one of, we'll have as many as we need to have to work this out, but that's exactly what we're here to do. We're here to have that conversation, so don't get frustrated because you haven't missed anything. We left these blank because we need feedback from Terry and others. So far, it's been,
So we're still going to have that conversation
well,
about
we're having
these
it right
line
now.
items?
This is part of it,
Okay.
right? Because we can't team up in a back room and work through
Right.
this. We have to be in a public meeting.
We no mean wanted to set any perimeters before we present it to
Right.
y'all. So that's why there are some zeros, because we, as the mayor said, so as soon as we get that feedback, then we can plug it in, because we've got some little bit of fluff that we can plug in, but that's what we were anticipating when we sat down and did the original numbers.
So when we get to things, Dale and Terry and Tom and others, when we get to items that are of particular interest to you, or you feel like you're going to drive spending in those areas, that's the time for you to speak up and say, hey, and I'm making this up, I'm going to do the sign thing, I'm going to need $2,000. Again, that's hypothetical. We need to put that in this category. Or Terry says, I'm going to need some map stuff. That's, I need $2,000 or whatever. The other ones, like legal and all of that, I mean, if you ask all 6 of us, you're probably going to get 6 answers. We're just trying to pick a mark and make our best guess, because there's a few things that we just have no idea.
Sure.
So-
Legal could be from a few thousand to a lot,
Yeah.
depending on how things go.
So what we tried to do was take everything that we have to have,
Yeah, this is.
and we budgeted for everything that we have to take care of. The other things like engineering, rainy day fund, the lawsuit, TML, that went up, we'll give you that number. But we wanted y'all to be part of this process. We don't want to do all of this.
Right.
So you're going to notice at the end, when Doug gets done, we have some money and you'll know what that figure is.
But just out of curiosity though, Dale, since you raised the issue, I mean, are you imagining, I guess as I think over the next year, we're going to create some resolutions, create some ordinances, we're going to talk about impact fees, we're going to talk about, development. strategies and P and Z and some other
P&Z,
things,
yeah.
but do you have in your mind anything that's going to really drive expense in a big way? I mean, it's,
Well, yeah, there's several of them that can. I mean, one of the big ones is, the impact fees.
Okay.
I mean, we're.
on the
again,
cost
we've had
side or
that
on the income
conversation,
side?
we have to, that process, we've got to get we've got to hire a financial analyst we can't just pull impact fees out of the air.
Okay,
Well-
We have to hire someone that's been approved by the state to
Right.
go in there and do all the math for us.
okay,
And
Okay.
so, we have all that, plus the engineering, plus, the development standards we have to have. And
Okay.
that's why, in talking to both yourself and Terry about meeting with the engineering firm, okay, the first thing is, okay, engineer, this is a conversation we need to have. Is that a 2-hour deal or 3-hour deal? Give me a number, just to have the conversation. We could easily be looking at $1,000 just to have the conversation.
right. Well, I think we'd
Matt?
also want to project, though, the benefit of
Sure.
going down that road, right?
Sure.
So in a year, let's say, where a lot was going on in poetry, what would the potential take be on impact fees? I mean, we don't want to spend $1 million chasing 1,000, right? Or 1,000 chasing $1.
It's significant.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So is that a just sort of discuss it and get a little framework and talk about it, but maybe this isn't the year we jump in? I don't know. I'm not making a
Yeah.
decision, but
No, we're not making decisions.
just because it's out there, we don't necessarily need to do it if it's not going to bring benefit to the
Right.
town, right?
Yeah, and I understand we're under limited, and that's why I brought it up on the budget, is because I know we can't do it all this next year.
Right.
We know that.
Yeah, but we need to find out for
we
next
need-
year's budget
That's
and
right.
how we're
We
going to
need
line
to
item.
at
I need
least
to
go
spend
far
this
enough.
time to
Yes.
put a deal together.
Yeah.
Yep.
All the costs, a realistic deal, and then we go back next year or whatever and figure out how we're going to fund this.
There you
And
go.
maybe we fund a little this year and, have
Well,
some basic conversations.
Yeah, so we need to figure out where we're going to categorize that. So we don't have an impact fee category. So would that be under the engineering?
Well, we
Little
could,
bit of
we
both.
could make
Professional
a
services?
CIP fund, a capital improvements project, and we could label it mapping slash
Mapping, yeah.
consulting, right?
So do you want to add that under professional services, CPI,
CIP?
CIP?
Research and development maybe, or something,
Yeah, I mean,
something like that.
it's something that we could put some money into right now, and later, if something comes up, we're fiscally responsible throughout the year, and we go, we have that fund, we could spend 5,000 of that right now to go ahead and see what the
For
consultant.
exploration, right, just to
Exactly.
kind of size it up and figure out if it's something we want to put
But for accounting purposes, I think it's good to go ahead and have that fund
a
set up.
category.
So we're not pulling it out a rainy day just to
Yeah.
pay
Gotcha.
for
Because
that.
my
So-
deal being, I'm a business major, so I understand this. I don't like accounting, but I understand this budget whole concept. But, I feel like our big problem is income.
Yes.
If we had the income, we could do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, impact fees, yeah, it's gonna take a lot of money to get there, but it's the
The
risk
ROI.
reward.
Yeah.
Well, in simplifying it, I would think the profit is really what we're more interested in.
Yeah.
Because it's going to cost us something to bring that income in, right?
Yeah.
So is
Yeah,
there
that's
anything
one
left?
thing that we really is futuristic going in.
Yeah, it's
During the year, is
income,
we got to
income,
come
income.
up with a fee structure
Yes,
for the
for
town,
everything.
because just reading through even the zoning and stuff, when
Exactly.
people submit for stuff, well, we always said, well, people are going to have to start paying.
Yeah.
So we've got to figure out what the fee structure is, and I'm saying what Poetry needs, not what maybe some other town. We can use another town for kind of a guideline, but we really want to really come down to the fee structure that was
And that's
just-
where the financial advisor, we have to hire to get that done.
Yeah. All right, let's move
Just
forward.
move on.
Tom?
Yeah, I'm still back on this 5,600, the engineering and mapping and all that.
Yes, sir.
Last year, we had 30,000, I believe it's 30,000, or maybe 35,000. And this year, it's zero. I don't understand where it is.
So that's something y'all are going to work out tonight. We're going to all work that out
We need to come up
tonight.
with some numbers.
Yes, you have.
Oh, so we don't have an answer yet?
No.
No,
we-
this is
Okay.
a council effort.
understand.
It's not
Okay.
This
me
isn't
and
a review,
Doug
this is a
or-
workshop. We're
Yeah,
putting-
that's
creating
why we're
numbers.
doing a workshop, so we can get those figures.
Yeah, the conversation we were having was, we knew Terry had some background with the mapping and stuff that needs to be done. So we know the engineering, because the engineering cost us almost, well, $19,000 last year, if you break it out for what we used it for. And that's why it's in professional service. That way, if we need another engineer of some sort, then we can plug his salary in, and that way we can keep up with how much we're spending, on that type of item. But yeah, this is expertise now. We're passing the football over, and for y'all to start looking at and giving us some numbers so we can plug it in. Tracy and I've got the numbers that we play with, and so with Teresa, she's been super, keeping us abreast with all the numbers on a daily basis, pretty much, after we've called her every day. But, so yes, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
We're getting y'all.
I understand.
Guys,
We're letting y'all do it with us.
I applaud the
Yeah.
job y'all have done.
Okay, so before we lose that thought, though, guys, where do we want to put this category for professional services? Let's create a number.
So
And
that'll
let's add
be
it in.
5, 6,
5630.
20, 5, 6. Would that be 5, 6,
5630
30?
would be the next one.
5630.
Are we talking about a
The
capital improvement
CIP.
project? I was gonna ask Teresa, a lot of times they're not necessarily in that account. It's a capital improvement account, and then they'll have their own numbers in it. So if we wanna set up a capital improvement project, account that we fund annually to meet a goal. So for instance, if we wanna spend $50,000 on a road repair,
Right, as long
on a
as,
specific road, and we fund it over time, it typically doesn't go into that account.
so if it is just maintenance repair, then it wouldn't be capital.
Okay, so this is gonna be professional services. So if we decide we want a survey, if we decide we want something else with the engineers, but we can't afford it all right now, a consultant to give us impact fee studies.
Right.
Where would we wanna put that account?
Professional services.
Profession, so which one do you get the bids on? I would have to have Dale. Dale, there's one that is consultants that can be used for, and then one that's services. So
So
there's one that
services is when the-
requires bidding, right? And which is which?
I'm
Dale
not
knows.
sure,
So
because we had to go out for RFP to hire the engineers.
Right.
I think it would be under professional services, and then consultants would be, say you had something smaller, you had someone come in, a consultant of some sort, but you would have either or. You would, I think the council would tell me, typically the mayor would tell me, this is where I want this booked.
Okay.
And one of those accounts, and then you would know to follow that account, especially if it's related to mapping or
But
surveys.
if we're spending
or-
a few $1,000s to talk to the engineering firm to figure out the structure of
That's just a
impact
consult.
fees and how you hire and all that, I mean, to me, that's more of a professional services engagement. It
Then at
doesn't
some
meet
point-
the criteria of a capital. It's capital once we
point it
decide
becomes-
to go there. And then we hire people and all of that. So I think the first category we need is something like a 5630
Yes.
maybe, and is that an engineering service, or is that more general, like a professional
Maybe
service?
we just call it consulting, because we're
It's big
going to have to do
consulting.
both engineer and financial advisor. It's going to
Okay,
be
so
several
then I
different-
would put a financial category in there,
Financial consultant,
yes.
financial consultant.
Financial and
Yes,
engineering.
consultant.
Well, we have engineering
be.
services
Okay.
and
And
consultant,
Okay.
so we would just add financial.
And the one thing we got by the line items is if we ever had a question of how much we've been spending, say in this line item we're talking, all we got to do is ask her, 5630, how much money and where has it been going for the year? So that way we can use it.
How difficult is it to encumber money from one fund to another?
Don't ask.
So it would take council's approval,
Yes.
then you would have an ordinance amending the budget,
Okay.
and then that would need to be posted.
Yeah, we have to refile the
So
budget.
And-
that's my purpose, not to be vague, because we're always about
And-
transparency, for sure. But if that's being said, engineering services, why couldn't that be services/consultant? It's the same thing. We're asking them for their opinion. They're not physically.
Well, it is, it's gonna be the same thing, you're just gonna add the financial in there.
Well, I'm saying if we're saying they'll, wants to put 5,000 for consulting to get their recommendations on what impact fees look like from their point of view.
Okay.
And we put it under consultant and we need 6,000. Well, now what? Now we gotta encumber it from somewhere else.
Well, that's right. If it turns out that it's
Right.
more of an engineering question than a financial, now we're stuck because the
Right.
money's in the
Or-
wrong bucket.
Right,
You would just explain you're over budget.
right. It's easier to be over budget than it is to be,
Okay, so that being
Does that
said,
make
maybe
sense?
it'd help me if we fast forward just to see
okay.
how much extras we have
Yeah.
before we start filling in the
Yeah,
blank.
because one of the things, if we spend more in one line item, that gives us an opportunity when we're doing the next budget, knowing how much we should be
Yes.
spending for the next year. So as long as the bottom line is not a negative, out of
Well-
all the categories, then we're fine. But like I said, yeah, we don't want to go over, $5,000 on one line item without something going like, hey, wait a minute, time out. But
Any-
yeah, we can go back and look at that money.
Right.
I don't know, yeah, I'm fine with that, but 5610 and 5620 to me is the same thing.
Well, service is different than consulting. So if engineering came out here and actually did an on-the-ground survey, that's a service.
Or if they draw us a map.
That's a service.
Cons-
But consulting
Then
would
the
be,
meeting would be a
It's
consultant.
still a
like,
service.
if you and Terry go to the engineering firm and say, they say, we're gonna charge you $150 an hour to consult with you to get this done, that's what goes under consulting.
Right, I get it.
Okay. You good, Terry?
Yeah, I mean, if that's what it
So-
is.
So are we in agreement by adding that financial in the
Well, again, the only
5630?
concern I'd have is I don't want to trap the money there.
Well, so, and to answer your question then, how much time do we have to get you a more accurate number?
Next month.
Okay, we can do that.
So,
Maybe do it next week.
that's something we need to discuss today. Do we want, we have until the end of September, but our September meeting could be the final budget approval unless Mike wants to go ahead and do that in August. So,
Our engineers have been on vacation, and they just emailed us back since we've been sitting here. So we hadn't had that opportunity
Sure.
to talk to them. So
yeah,
I guess, yeah, I would ask that we just kind of leave that alone for now.
okay.
But while we're talking about 5610, Teresa, does it bother you, or does it mess up accounting that our old budget, 5610, was town hall security? Is
No,
that
it's-
ever going to become an issue moving forward?
No, it's not a problem, because if I get reports from last year, it's going to show that. It's just I can't get rid of an account that has prior items booked to it.
I just
Yeah,
want to
we're
make sure
challenged.
moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I guess the only thing I would say on that conversation is I want to be earlier than later
Okay.
on finishing, so we need to move quickly on as we become aware tonight, make notes for your respective areas and set out it.
We're going to try to do that next week.
Right, get that information, and actually, you can get that information back to Teresa,
And she can,
and she can incorporate that into the, don't break OMA, don't get into conversation with more than, well, in fact, since we've already talked about budget with them too, we can't talk about it with anybody else, because
Right.
we'll have a rolling quorum, so just send the information to
Everything.
Teresa,
Teresa,
and then she'll dial it in, and we'll see what she's put in there,
Right.
so.
thank you for that.
One other category that's going to increase a little bit is the town insurance.
count number,
That's not,
5,900?
yes.
5,900,
Yeah.
that's correct.
So our
Which one?
5,900.
5,900.
Town insurance.
So cybersecurity, instead of 1,250, it's gone up to 1,500?
Well,
Or it
actually, it's
could.
worse than that, isn't it? They
No.
sent us an email
Just
today.
the cyber,
That's just cyber.
that's just the cyber.
That's just cybersecurity. So if
You
you
have
got,
two
sorry.
options.
So we had two options. We could go with Nucor or Nucor Plus. Nucor, I think is gonna, in my opinion, is gonna give us everything that we need as far as cybersecurity. It's 1,500. We can go up to the Nucor Plus, it's 1,850. But, I mean, so business, impersonation cost goes up from 150,000 to 300,000.
So until council's educated on that, I would feel safe with making that 1,850. Then once council gets educated on it, if we spend 1,500, that's okay.
So you want to round it up to
I would for now for budget purposes.
Okay,
And then if we spend less, that's okay.
Yeah, because what we've been told,
It doesn't pigeonhole us into
Yeah,
sticking with the
I agree.
$1,500 fund.
okay.
yeah, because TML is going to a new carrier in October, so we kind of got the close numbers, but we still, I don't anticipate it going, if we go like you're talking about high.
And nothing you
Bounce
bring
around.
to me about technical security is gonna matter. I'm gonna lean on y'all because I have no clue, but I would rather have more money in the budget than.
Well,
I agree.
you know, to me, cyber liability insurance is no different than car insurance. It doesn't stop you from having a wreck, it just helps you recover financially from the wreck, right? So what we're going to do on a related note, and it's in the IT area, is we're going to bring in someone here pretty soon that will sort of monitor our network and do intrusion detection and some other things to make sure that we never even end up in a position of having to file a claim,
Is
right?
that in this
Because-
budget, that expense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually, it's minimal, it's very inexpensive, it's like tens of dollars a month.
Right.
No.
So our building insurance will stay the same. That would be 5920. And then TML Town Insurance is going up to 5160.
Now, does the building insurance include the liability for Longhorn, Teresa?
No,
No, that's got to be
Tracy has
separate.
it.
has to be separate.
Okay, and where is that?
It's the third line.
Building insurance.
Craig and Lay?
Craig and Lay. But it's not Craig and Lay, it's somebody else. We found.
It's Irvin.
Okay, but is the number right?
Yes.
Okay, $700? Okay,
Yeah, I
And you
thought we
said
could separate
TML
that,
Town
but we can't.
Insurance was 5,900. I'm seeing 5,000. Am I
It
seeing
needs
the
to be
wrong one?
changed.
It's 5161, it's been changed. We just
Okay.
got those figures today.
okay, so 5,000 becomes 5161?
What's on there?
Yeah, and that's account 5930.
That's correct, 5930.
So your total on that would be 7,710.
7,000 what?
710.
And that's bumping up the cyber to 1850,
Correct,
leaving Craig and Lay or whoever at 700,
yes,
and the last one's 5161.
yes.
Okay. Okay, roads, Doug, what do you got on roads?
What's the number?
Doug?
6010 or 6,000?
No, it's 6010, 6011, and 12. So I think we just kind of made some guesses there that, you know, 2/3 or so to Hunt County and 1/3 to Kaufman.
Okay.
And that was our capital, that's under capital because of the
35,
large number on that.
Right. So that would be where we did a big project where they put some cap on a road or put some long patches like they did 6 or 8 months ago where they did the 50-something thousand dollars worth of work.
So it's hard to look back historically on that because of our lack of Kaufman County, but, I mean, do you think that's a fair price? If we took Hunt County expenditure and multiply it times a third, because I think you're pretty close to that, is that, do we feel safe with 3,500, or are we behind on roads? Or 35,000, or are we behind on roads and need more?
Well, to me, we need, I mean, of course, we have to spend all of our sales tax
Yes.
Yes.
revenue on roads, 100% of it. So,
Correct.
and we need to allocate, I mean, roads are the number one pain point in the town of Poetry. They're just, they're on, you know, everybody's mind. And so to me, we need to allocate all that we can towards roads and then just continue working with the counties as time allows and equipment availability and all that to do as much road work. I mean,
So
even the $100,000 isn't going to do a lot of road, but it's,
well, and that's, our total is running roughly 10,000 a month,
right,
so it's roughly 120,000. So
Right.
this is a little bit underneath our,
it is,
And
but,
our
road
projected
but it's not
sales-
potholes, though. This is only capital. This is big projects.
Right.
Okay.
Not the
so-
little piddly stuff.
okay,
So
that's-
there's a separate one.
capital is expensed?
Yeah,
I mean, the potholes are expensed?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an expense, yeah.
Yeah, so under the project sheets, that would be 6,100, right, Doug?
Yeah.
So we have Hunt County project sheets. Those are the pothole runs where they do pothole repair and shoulder repair.
Yeah, it's under, it'll be under the operational, 61.
61,
100.
11.
11, and 6112. So we've got 50,000 currently for Hunt County project sheets. we've got 23.5 for Kaufman County.
So if we add accounts 6,100 with those, and 6010, which was 6011, 6012, we come up with 172,000, I'm sorry.
And we're collecting about 120.
Well, according to this budget, I think our sales tax, I'm scrolling back up to see, was estimated at 110.
Okay.
Okay.
But anyway, the potholes are also
172
coming out of the road fund for
That's
sales.
correct.
So the total, so we're estimating more than what we're taking in.
Yes, but then we have encumbered funds.
Right.
Fund.
Well, we have
Of
carryover money, and then
72,000.
we can pull out of the other side of our budget for road work as well. We just can't go the other direction with sales tax.
Yeah,
can't
so we
spend
have
it.
encumbered funds and we have rollover money.
Yeah, so the encumbered and the sales tax revenue total would be 182.
Yeah.
Am I reading that right? Okay. And we're budgeting 177 total for roads, capital and potholes.
Right, and volunteer, everything.
Present.
So do we want to budget the full amount of our expected
income?
income? Would that be better or
No,
no?
because then you
Well-
have no money left to spend on anything else.
Well,
These are sales tax revenue, it has to be spent
Well,
on
we've
roads.
got to
We've got
consume 100% of it there,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, so if we encumber it next year, it's still going into an encumbered road account.
Right.
So my question would be, if we're expecting 182 with the encumbered money, do we want to budget that fully? Not that we have to spend it, so it's in that account,
so right now you have 177,000 budgeted.
Allocated,
Budgeted.
correct.
Right.
and then an
And you're
estimate.
thinking somewhere around 180,000 with the encumbered and new revenues for sales tax.
182
So
is
you
what
have
I'm,
some,
Well, and if we
Fluctuation.
did that, I would do it under volunteer pothole repair, because I don't
Okay.
want to have to do a lot of that this year
Right.
ourselves. I'd prefer the county do it, but,
But
you know,
we
we get in
need
a
to-
pinch like 249,
yes.
you know, a couple of loads of asphalt is, what, $1,400, something like that? So, you know, $2,000 is not a lot.
So how much are we budgeting for the encumbered funds? I don't see that.
So
It's
that's-
on top, Tom.
That's up here
Income?
at the top.
Which one is that?
4450.
Encumbered road fund prior.
That's $72,000.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Should be at the top, 4450.
4472. Oh,
44.
income, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Category number.
Yeah, 44.
so you look at what you presently have in dedicated funds, what you're going to get for the next 3 months, and that's how you came up with the 72,000.
Right.
You also look at what you're going to spend, and you estimated 10,000 a month, 30,000. So if you don't spend that 30,000,
There'll be
that's the
more.
money you would have. You could have another 30,000.
Right.
And if you get more than 9,000 a month, you'd have more than the 108,000.
But do we have the ability to park that money in something like the rainy day or something, you know, some category that we can then
Sure we do.
pull from? But I guess we still have to go through the budget management process, right?
Yes.
And you'd have to dedicate it.
Right.
Maybe roads, rainy day, dedicated fund. Or
So,
And that's kind of
Miscellaneous.
easy because it's sales and use. It's the only place it can be used is roadways and right-of-ways. So that one's kind of easy. So would you recommend having another rainy day fund, or what would you call it, Teresa? Just for any overages?
I'm thinking.
unanticipated?
Well, one of the things that I think we need to really hone in, and this might be a Mike thing, is the legal fees.
yeah.
The lawsuit,
Well, but we can't pull that out of the sales tax. So
No,
what we're
no,
trying to
no.
do, I think to
Yeah.
Tom's point, is let's make sure we've sort of consumed all of the
road.
sales tax money in some road category,
And I
right?
understand now.
Yeah.
Unanticipated overages?
So I think what we're saying is we actually could go higher
Mm-hmm.
because we've got some rollover minutes, as it were, here, right? We've got rollover money coming in, so if we went
But
higher,
Teresa, isn't that rollover money general, that's just general fund, right?
No, you have both. You have
do.
encumbered
it's
funds
two categories.
for
Right.
roads, and then you
Okay.
have use of prior excess, that's your general
Okay.
fund. And you already have 72,000 in encumbered road funds that
Right.
we're anticipating carrying over.
Right.
So to your point, Terry, we could go up 50,000 or so and still be well within our,
Yeah, I don't want to do that because now citizens are going to say, Well, you thought we was gonna have another 50,000. I would just like to move the remainder of what's predicted.
$500,000 a mile to build road. I mean, $500,000.
I would say
50,000
5,000.
ain't much.
I would say 5,000 to volunteer pothole repair.
Okay, so
That would be the difference of what we've expected to spend and what we're expecting to encumber.
Would you want to call it operational funding? I mean, we've
Is
got
it-
an operational line group, and I'm not saying put it in there, but we're just talking about what's something other than a rainy day.
Well, that's what I'm saying, just put it in, park it in the pothole repair business.
So plus 5,000?
So 6125 becomes 5,000, is Terry's
it-
recommendation.
Okay.
Well, it's
So
currently at
just
2.
5,000.
It's
not
currently at
so it
2,
becomes
so it'd be
5.
7,000.
Oh, you want it to be 7?
That's
Well,
what I
that's
thought.
the difference in what we're
Yeah.
expecting to have
Okay,
versus
my
what
bad.
we're
Okay,
budgeting.
so 7,000, that's even better.
So,
Yeah.
so
That's 10 loads of asphalt.
it goes from 2,000 to 7,000, is that?
Yes,
Because that's the only money we can spend, right? So,
that's
It's the only place it can go.
6125 volunteer pothole repair. And then road supplies, $500, that's traffic cones, safety vests, shovels, I mean, random stuff. Road equipment rental would be if we had to rent a skid steer, you know, compactor or something, so we just left a little there. We're not anticipating needing it, but just in case. Building utilities and things, I mean, those should be pretty straightforward, right? We just ran out
yeah.
what our numbers are. Do we have a little bit of fluff in there if rates go up, or if
Maybe just a very little, but I'm not, Teresa would have to help me out on that, because I don't think we really disturbed that a whole lot.
Which one?
Well, just
400.
utilities, water, electric, I mean,
You know,
ongoing
especially if we're gonna-
internet.
Yeah, and that's another line that we need to discuss too.
Yeah, because the internet, we're on a introductory package with
Yeah.
Spectrum. We're about to go off contract, so prices go up.
Didn't we, I thought we factored that in.
I think we did, I think we're
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just an example. Electricity, I don't know, it goes up a tiny bit, but probably not a huge amount.
And
For, just to clean this up, can we move 6410 back in sequence with the other ones? It's below 6430.
Where is it at? Is it? oh,
yeah, the church,
Reimbursement church.
I think we made it separate, but we can put it under reimbursed church.
You want to leave it at 6410?
yeah, just move it.
Well, I mean, we can change the number or something, but it's not
Under building
sequential in
utilities.
numbers.
You just want it under
Sequential.
the
Just-
hierarchy change,
Yes,
okay?
that's clear.
And that's to compensate the church if we use their building? Is that
Yes.
right? Okay. So that's going to be, for the first 2 times, if we use it, is going to be a little over $100, $125, because they don't trust us, because apparently we've tore up their building a couple of times. And then after that, it's going to go back down, but,
You know, it's just like the electricity, utility, since we're kind of spreading our meetings around, I mean, we are saving some electricity and water.
Right.
right. Yeah, I think we're going to come in good on that. I mean, that's probably a lot more than we need.
Does the audit expense have any increase to it, or is that last year's number?
I think we're going to have to, our recommendation, Tracy and I, we've talked about, I think we're going to need to increase our audit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So last year, it was less than the 5,200. Is that right?
Yeah, his comment to me, I think to me and Teresa maybe, was a little over, he said somewhere around 5,000 is his projection if there wasn't anything special, right? If they find any issues or, you know, we've made some weird change, then that takes it above that number.
Well, and plus you may see recommendations for us to maybe change auditors, because this will be the 4th year we've had an auditor.
The
And
same
and it's usually every 2 years
Okay.
that they change, towns and cities change their auditors.
So what I did was I looked at the averages of what a municipal auditor would cost, and the average on the low end is 5,000.
Okay, I'm good with that.
So-
Just clarifying.
Well, that's on the low end, though. We don't want
Low end, yeah.
Yeah, I would consider moving that up to like 6,000 and coming in a little high. I mean, I don't want to not be able to pay for our auditor. So let's
Okay.
go 6,000. If we change firms and they're a little more expensive or something unanticipated comes up. So let's run that 5 to 6, or 5,200. 6,500.
6,500.
Sorry, what number is that?
6,500, the very bottom,
Oh, okay.
almost to the bottom, well. third
Oh, yeah, I
quarter.
got it now. So
Okay,
we're moving
audit-
it up from,
6,000, move it to 6,000, up from 5,200.
yeah. Well, they're only increases on their costs. If we don't have any more forms to fill out, then we don't have any more increases on the audit. So, other than whatever their normal salary increases are.
Well, and we're hoping too, by updating our QuickBooks, that it'll make the audit even simpler for them. I mean, right now, it's pretty straightforward, as Teresa tells me, we just send them some files, but they'll be able to actually access all of our data through the newer version of QuickBooks, so hopefully that helps them and saves us some money.
Something that we need to be mindful of when we're talking about auditors is, I spoke to the gentleman that does Rockwall and Terrell and a lot of other big cities the other day. He said what we're finding is these smaller CPA firms are being bought out by larger CPA firms. So when we're talking about auditing numbers, I think 6,000 is a good number, but if we ever did change, that could go up. I mean, I said, what would you charge to do ours? He said, you don't have the funds. I said, okay.
Well, just knowing the people involved, I don't think they're interested in selling out. They're a different type.
Well,
Caperton,
that's what Doug was saying, that maybe we consider a new one this year. It's been 4 years.
Well, I think the idea is you rotate, it
Right,
just
just
kind of
for-
keeps everybody honest, right? Because
Right.
at some
So
point,
when-
you just kind of get used to things and you
That's
maybe
right.
don't see stuff.
well, we
And
found
John-
before, it's hard to find
It is.
somebody that'll do cities.
Yeah.
Caperton, they just do
Right.
nonprofits.
Yeah, I don't
and
think they're, I
cities.
mean, I know personally, I don't have any issue with them. They seem like good people to me. I just think it's an
Yeah, they're-
industry.
So,
They're all good people. I mean, it's just a matter of doing our due diligence as stewards of.
Right,
Yeah,
but
it's
we're
like a
going to find
second
that
opinion.
not
Yeah,
many.
there's nothing
not
wrong with
many
what's been going on.
So-
They're interested in doing
Yeah.
towns.
yeah, so John Manning, the gentleman I spoke to, he said, I applaud you for looking for new firms to do audits because he said it just is good for you because what happens is a lot of times is auditors get complacent. They know your business, they know your income, they know your outcome, and they might not catch little things. Well, we can't afford them not to catch things. So, I
Okay.
mean, I don't mind staying with who we have, but I just think that, that's something we might need to look at for the following year.
Well, and yeah, we can also reach out to
Yeah.
the other cities' mayors and
Right.
accounting people. And in fact, that's one of the things I had told Teresa I wanted to try to do is get her hooked up with the finance person at Heath and at Rockwall and at Royce City and some of these little towns and figure out what they're doing.
Well, and you have to remember, the county auditor is different than the city accounting person. Because I talked to Lisa Wiley from Rockwall, because she's a personal friend of mine. She's the county
County or
auditor.
city? County?
She's the county auditor. So she's the one that gave me John Manning's number. But there's also an auditor that does smaller municipalities in Greenville, but I haven't gotten her name yet.
Okay.
And I have a list of other ones, so.
Okay, let's jump back for my benefit here to
Okay.
legal services, 5,800. So for Tom and Dale and Terry, because you're seeing some of the numbers we put together here, any reaction to those? I mean, again, the lawsuit's the wild card. We have no idea. I mean, ideally, it gets thrown out and we don't have to pay a whole lot more to wrap it up, but if it goes to trial and we have a week long of testimony and everything else, it's going to get really expensive really fast.
So it's bumped up a little bit from last year. It was 11,000 last year, if I'm reading it right.
Yeah.
This year it's 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
just a wild guess.
Yeah,
So-
it is. I mean, if somebody's got a better guess, I'm all ears, but I think it's a guess.
Well, I think that's something we kind of need to talk with Berman about. What ifs? What's going to be our cost if this happens? What's going to be our cost?
We can ask him, but I don't think he's going to
Well, I
know any
think
better
he-
than we do.
Yeah, I think he
I mean, he can tell us what a day of his time and average paperwork costs, but it's like, how many days?
Yeah.
Is it a week? Is it several weeks? If we lose and we have to pay all their legal expenses, I mean, it could be anywhere.
Well, it's worse, because if we lose, then that means they'll send it back to be tried, likely.
Well, if we lose in the appeal, yeah, then it goes to trial.
Right, and then that's where the amount really goes up.
And
And
we,
it's
you know, we don't know what that timeframe is.
We don't-
Could it be next year? Could it be the fall? I mean, we just don't
Well,
know.
yeah, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, that's one where it's probably gonna warrant a budget amendment
Yes.
and all that's entailed
Oh,
in that, right?
We're going to have a lot of
That's right,
discussions.
yeah, so I think we just kind of make a going-in
Yeah,
estimate here.
I'm fine with what we got now.
And two, you know, you just not forget when we start talking about mapping, revision, planning and zoning, impact fees, it's going to require an attorney.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so
So could we put,
let me just kind of give y'all an average of where we're looking at excess and what we have to spend for these categories.
Have you already deducted what we've added tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're at $68,386.83.
Okay.
So I've added in, so we increased the 850
Now,
for,
where does that number go?
so that's going to be your bottom line down here where it says net income.
Okay, so it was, what is that?
15 something.
238.83?
Yeah.
So now you're saying it's 68,386.83?
Yes,
Okay,
with the adjustments.
That's with the 5,000 we added to 6125, the 1,800 we added to the audit, which is count 6,500?
Yeah, so before we started tonight, we were at $76,536.
Okay.
And then once I deducted all that, we came down to 68,000.
so that's unallocated funds for this budget year.
Yes, so we have engineering, lawyer,
Financial consultant,
yeah, cost of roads, redone maintenance, rainy day fund. So that's what we have allocated to spend between those categories.
So are we okay with leaving that undetermined right now while we still seek engineering?
Yes,
between now and next meeting, yes, but
Okay.
after that, no.
And then after that, it goes into the rainy day fund?
That's, well, that's
Or,
right.
or
Well,
we
yes.
can, yeah.
yeah.
But if we feel confident with everything that's budgeted now, that's where we
What's
go.
the number for
Okay.
3,000?
I came up with 68,000.
For number 3,000?
61,708.
Okay.
61,708.05. And so the 15,000 is in the 68,000 number?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so
I just want to make sure I know. Sure.
Doug, Teresa, and Tracy, does that get us, sorry, I'm supposed to be calling you council people, but
That's all right.
hear that when I say your name.
Yes.
Does that put us in a good spot for tonight's effort?
Yes, so what we'll do is we'll go back, we'll add in we'll change the 6410. We'll add in the increments that we added in
We
tonight.
added 5630,
Yes.
financial consultant.
Yes,
And the
we'll add
audit.
that.
The audit.
We'll increase the audit number, so we'll,
6,000, right.
that will be ready for next month. So next month, if you would please think about where you want that $68,000 to go, that will, we should be ready for September to pass this budget.
Okay, and so Dale, your action item is to go put some structure around the impact fee stuff, what it takes to start that journey, roughly what you think you would need. Terry, yours would be the map, whatever edits you think need to be made to the map or whatever. So get with the engineers now, they're talking to you again and figure that out. Tom, do you have any concerns as we wrap this conversation?
No, I guess the big question mark is this engineering fees, engineering services, is what is that going to be? And to get to Dale's point, what is our goal with it?
Right.
Right.
And then,
You know-
so that's to be determined.
Yeah. And you know, I don't think it would hurt for you three guys to go to American National Bank and just see if they offer any financial services free of charge. I don't know, I know they do, I don't know what that entails, but,
I don't know if they're
You
in
know.
business
this is
anything
what
free.
we're talking about is a special skill
Right.
just for municipalities.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah,
Well,
it's kind
I'm
of like a
sh-
proposal manager. I mean,
Right.
that's their thing.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
they do for a living. and they're-
feasibility guy, yeah.
okay.
Okay, Teresa, because you don't get a lot of chance to talk to all of us at once. Any thoughts or concerns or questions?
No, Tracy, will you just send me a list of the changes I
Yes,
should
ma'am.
make, and I'll send it
I
right back to
certainly
you,
will. Okay.
both of you. And then I was going to send the information on the insurance out to all council members.
Okay.
Okay. Doug, Tracy, any closing remarks?
No, I really enjoyed the process.
That's not what you told me.
Well, there's times where I was just like,
Thank God for people with different passions,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I
Me too.
was thankful that Mike
didn't
let
raise
me
my
do
hand.
this. I like looking at numbers. And I think Doug and I worked well as a team, and it was fun working with Teresa because I got a different perspective. And I learned a lot through this process, so I was excited.
Well, and I'll put in a kudo for Teresa, because she's been very, very helpful to me and just loves this stuff. I don't understand
Yeah.
that, but she just loves this stuff.
I
And
do.
I like the fact that she's passionate about numbers, and it's like a Rubik's Cube to her. You know, it's like, okay, I'm gonna go look at it this way, and I'm gonna do
Yeah.
that, and I'm gonna come back. And the good news is, the numbers always add up right, so that's like very encouraging to me. Apparently, she knows what she's doing, so thank you very much, Teresa, for all your hard work.
Thank all of you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, well, let's,
Thanks.
yes, any closing remarks, anybody else?
Nope.
Okay, so let's take a 5-minute recess. The time is 6:40.
Let's hear some low
5-minute
chairs.
recess, and then we'll reconvene for the regular. If
feel
somebody
like a
hasn't
low
signed
chair
up
to
to
you?
speak, you can still sign up to talk either during the regular agenda or during the general comments. Thank you, Teresa.
Test, test, test.
try to sit up at the edge of my chair. Oh, yeah, that's good.
Okay, 1 minute, everybody. 1 minute. David? We up? Okay, guys and gals, let's get seated and continue on our journey here. I sound quiet, David. Did you turn me down? My wife says I like to hear myself talk. You need to crank me up.
I'm sorry, I missed that. The dog silence.
Okay, 2 taps. That means everybody needs to sit down. Not the audience, but the council. Everybody back?
Yep.
Okay, well, welcome if you've come in after the beginning of the meeting to everybody that's here and watching us online or in the recorded version. So we spent the first hour and a little bit talking about budget. We're trying to get ready for our final budget approval in the next 1 to 2 months so we can get all that turned in on time. So we had a pretty good little workshop session, I think. Again, our goal is to try to start doing these things coincident with the meeting that's already going to occur, so we don't have to come in and set up and tear down on a whole separate day, and it causes struggle with families and vacation schedules and other things. So anyway, hopefully this is helping us all out a little bit. The next thing up is on the agenda is items of community interest, and I want to, Tom, remind me, you're going to speak at the end here, so that's where you can do your little piece. Number one, I want to thank the volunteer road crew that came together and helped us do some work on County Road 249, which becomes County Road 2458, back on July 3rd. That's Councilmember Fowler, Josh Knight, Debbie Emard, Trevor Kroger, Jimmy and DJ Johnson, David Potts, Councilmember Kendrick, JT West, Mike Griffin, Councilmember Bryant, Kenny Hibbs, and Sue Jaffe. And before anybody says anything, there were no more than 2 council members on the ground at any one time. We actually did shifts, so there were no quorums being violated or whatever there. But anyway, that was a good little effort. We did 2 loads of asphalt. The weather actually was pretty good all in all. It could have been a whole lot hotter, and I think we made a lot of progress. Tragically, we've got 0 compliments on the work we did. So one of the things we want to try to train our citizens to do is words of affirmation, okay? That's some of our love language. So I'm all for you complaining, whoever happens to be listening in this category, about the roads being bad, but it would also help when we fix them if you would say, hey, thank you. And you don't have to say it to me, but say it to somebody that was a part of the team, because, you know, it's hard work, and it's something we do out of the goodness of our heart and volunteer and all of that. So anyway, that was a great effort. We got, I think, all but just a handful of potholes repaired on that stretch of road. Now, we didn't do any shoulder work. Kaufman County's going to do that with their new machine they got, because the road is getting narrower and narrower. Now, let me comment, I noticed, and maybe this is a way we can trick the system, that since the construction's going on 3486, apparently Waze is routing all the traffic away from 249. Because I was on 249 several times today, and there was almost zero traffic on 249 today. Yes, it is. Well, there was traffic, but compared to, I've been on it when it was a whole lot busier. Now, I did see some of the 18-wheelers, the through trucks and things, but I got a feeling part of the reason that road's getting a lot of traffic is because Waze is showing as a good cut-through between 34 and 276. Because what I see on that road are not people in Poetry. I see a lot of pass-through. Anyway, neither here nor there. That's my sermon over. Thank you to Hunt County Precinct 2 Road Crew. That's David Monroe's crew for coming out and working on 2326, 2426. They're coming back to do some work on 2400 and a number of other roads. They've got a long list that I've given them that they're going to work on. And per the last meeting, Terry and Tom and I are working together on that stuff. Thank you to David Emard for helping with the sound and video. We really appreciate David coming in and turning the knobs and hopefully making us intelligible to both the people here but also the ones watching on the internet. Thank you to Scott Lohr and Zoe Lehue for coming in. They've just really stepped up and taken the lead with helping us get the building set up and getting equipment and sign-up sheets and all of that, and I appreciate that very much. And then, of course, thank you to Poetry Community Christian School for allowing us to use their facilities. Again, it gives us a little bit bigger room because people said they wanted to show up. We're not exactly filling it, but that's okay. We're upholding our word, and it keeps us from having to drag all of the sound equipment around, right? We just have to bring our own microphones and a couple of cables and a camera, and we're up and running. So anyway, I appreciate that. And Tom wanted to give us an update on the little shooting incident over in West Poetry, I guess.
It's been going on over a year.
Right.
And it's pretty serious. There was trial this last week, which I was in, for a guy named Jesus Cruz Monge, who for over the last year, he lives on County Road 2440. He's been presumably drunk or something, start shooting and hit houses. And then about a year ago, and he's hit several, and we've had a lot of complaints, but we only recently found out who it was. But anyway, about a year ago in July, there was an incident where he shot at some neighbors and hit their house, which they were in, and he hit their swimming pool, above-ground swimming pool, knocked holes in it. They called the sheriff's department. They came out, arrested him, and anyway, he was put in jail. He was released on bond, and then he started in doing it again last fall. And then in January, he apparently would go up and down 2440 just shooting randomly, and he was hitting houses too. And there are several people that have complained. Then in January, he had an incident where he really started shooting, and he hit, I guess, several houses, and he was going up and down the road. The sheriff was called. This time, they came out with multiple police cars. He resisted arrest. They got him down, took him to jail, and he's been in jail since January. And anyway, he's gone through the process of getting ready for trial, which I've been to a lot of the hearings. And anyway, right now, this trial was only on the July 2024 incident. It was not on the January 25 incident. However, they did use information from the January incident in the penalty phase for him. But anyway, they had the trial, and it was a fascinating trial, and they had two of the Poetry citizens testify that he had shot their house, shot the pool while they were in it, and there were others, but these two were courageous enough to testify. So then they, after that, the police, they had the body cams of the police, and they showed the arrest, and it was pretty violent, and he resisted arrest, and particularly in January 25 incident. And anyway, well, they got him, and he went through the trial, and the judge, they had the trial on Tuesday, and as jury trial, and the jury convicted him of and it's called deadly conduct discharge of a firearm, a third-degree felony. And he was convicted on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, they had not the trial, but the hearing for punishment, and it was also jury, it wasn't the judge. So in that one, they brought in all of the information related to the January 25 incident. Even though that wasn't in the trial, it was used in the punishment phase. So again, they showed all the body cam. They had several hours of body cam, but they didn't use all the hours. But they showed that. They had testimony again by the detectives as well as the policeman. And one of the neighbors who he had shot at his place, and he went out and confronted him, and Cruz Monge apparently was reaching for a gun, and this guy ran off, got his house. He had a gun, and before anything could happen, well, the police got there, and that's when they took down Cruz Monge, arrested him, took him into jail, and he's been in jail since. So the trial was interesting in that they had a lot of information, a lot of facts on him, but of course they didn't have everything. But fortunately, they had some courageous citizens, because this guy is illegal, and according to the district attorney, which I spoke to several times, assistant district attorney, is that he will be deported, but they wanted to deport him as a convicted felon, not as just deportation, because apparently legally things change a lot. And also at this time, if he's deported, no telling where he'll go. He could be Africa or El Salvador or anywhere, but they wanted to get him done with that. Well, when they did it, they convicted him on Tuesday, but on Wednesday the judge said your options are A, 2 to 10 years in prison, B, a fine of maximum $10,000, or C, a suspended sentence with supervision. Well, it took them, and they had all the hearing, and then it took them all afternoon, and finally they came back and they sentenced him to 4 years in prison. So then they took him out. Now, and then the DA told me, he said, well, at some point he's going to be detained by ICE and then deported, but of course that's a different organization, so we don't know when. But the big thing is there was a lot of people that were afraid, and the DA and the police both told me, they said, this could have been a much worse incident, because some people could have shot at him, it could have been a shot up, could have been people injured. He was shooting into houses, and one of the guys, he was in his workshop near him, and he had him shoot into his workshop while he was in it. So, and the guy, when they arrested him, they found the bullets, they found both a 9mm as well as a .45 on him, pistols. They found the bullets, and the people that he hit the swimming pool, they went in the swimming pool and got the 9mm bullets out of that. And so they had everything on him, but then it was just a matter of, whether they would convict him, and they did. So, to me, we owe a lot of thanks. The district attorney, and they did a lot. The judge, which is Kelly Aiken, who I happen to really like, it's a 354th District Court, that she handled it really well, I thought. The policemen, I say police, they were the Hunt County Deputy Sheriffs, officers, as well as the investigator, because they had to have an investigator come out on each of those 2 incidents as well. And then, most importantly, what really made it work was the 3 citizens who testified. And I thought that took a lot of courage, because this guy, he was released first time last fall on $10,000 bond, and he is a bad dude. That came out in the body cams. And so, they took a chance that he was going to be convicted. If he hadn't been convicted, well, they could got retribution from him or somebody else. So to me, this was a really good thing, but it says a lot for the 3 people that were willing to go to court and testify, and it was public. Everything was public. So anyway, at the end of it, well, I think we got what we want. He got 4 years in prison, but it doesn't matter, because he's going to be deported. So the 4 years is mostly to make sure that ICE knows he's a convicted felon.
They got time to
So
pick
he
them
will
up.
get deported as a convicted felon. So anyway, I think that's over. He's not going to get out, he hadn't been out of jail since January. He's not going to get out of jail, and hopefully he'll be deported, but I don't know that we will know when or anything about that. That's a totally different organization.
Okay, good. Well, thank you, Tom, and again, hopefully that brings some calm and peace to that
Well, County Road 2440.
end of our beautiful town. Yeah, I can't imagine some maniac running around shooting. Of course,
Oh, there was quite a few people that
He's
had their-
lucky they weren't shooting back. I'm not quite sure
Well,
how that
that's,
worked.
I
but-
talked to the assistant DA about that, and they said, yes, that would have been something, because the third person, he had his gun, and he was ready, sounded
Yeah,
like ready
well,
to
that's
shoot.
deadly force.
And the
It's-
DA said it's a wonder they didn't get into a shootout, which could have been even bigger incident. So, anyway, we think it's over, but I think the people on 2440 are the ones that really need to know it's over.
Okay, thank you, Tom. And just for the record, the council does not do law enforcement, but we do take complaints and try to get those rerouted to the people that handle law enforcement, so that,
Well, I was
because we
impressed.
care about our citizens.
I was
mean,
impressed with the deputies, sheriffs that testified, the investigators. They were very professional and tough. I was really impressed.
And, you know, that's back to my earlier thing about, you know, words of affirmation. I mean, it doesn't take much to send a nice note to the DA or to the judge or to whoever and just say, hey, thank you for, you know, so that they kind of know who we are and they.
Well,
they're-
and the one that gets up for re-election is Kelly, who is the, Kelly Aiken,
Yeah,
who
the
is
judge.
the judge. She is elected, and, I mean, personally, I voted for her in the past, and I definitely will vote for her again.
Yep, she's a good gal. I like her. Okay, well, let's move on. So next thing up is reports. And so first category there is financial, I guess, yeah, we're going to do a roads update. So financial, what we're trying to do here, both for the benefit of the council and the citizens, is be like super transparent. So what we've given you is like a really good look at what's going on financially in the town, all the way down to the, you know, checks we wrote and the bills we paid and all the other detail. And again, I've been very encouraged. Teresa gets really excited about this stuff. So we're going to, lacking any input from anybody on the council, this is going to be kind of our standard package each month, is to provide these reports so that we and citizens can get used to looking at this data and make comparison from one month to the next. So for the council only, are there any questions? We have the P&L budget versus actual for the month of June. Everything is based on June, or on month. We have bank reconciliation summary, and then we also have the detail on it. And then, of course, we have the sales and use tax report also for the month of June. Any questions from council on any of these reports?
I'd say this sure makes it easy to flag things if there is an issue.
Well, and,
So
you know,
it's good.
we're also working on, and we'll talk about that in a second with the QuickBooks, getting everything into our accounting package, right? Every dollar we take in or spend goes through our accounting package so that we have the ability to run reports like this, and it accounts for every penny that runs in or out of this town. So I think that's going to help everybody because we're all singing from the same music sheet, so.
One thing I want to point out is page 1 of the reconciliation data.
Okay, summary or detail?
Uh,
Probably detail. Yeah, details at top. Yeah, detail.
Like some of these checks might not be cash, but we did include them in the budget.
Right.
So just want you to know that.
Well, we have to assume that they're going to be cash. 'Cause- David, do you have Tracy up? Tracy got quiet.
There it goes.
I know you can talk
Okay.
louder than that. Okay, any other questions, council? Everybody good?
Yep.
Everybody feel like this is a complete set of reports that? Okay, hearing no objection, that's what you're going to see until further notice for each of the months that we're here and Jesus hasn't called us back. Okay, so, let's see, road update. As I said earlier, in the last 30 days, we did the volunteer road crew on 249, 34, 58, and gave some relief there. Hunt County, as I said, did 2426, 2326, the intersection of 2400, which is falling apart. They're going to come back and go down 2400 and a few other roads back around Grande Verde that are on the list. We do have a couple of roads, Green Meadow, Four Post, and others that I've looked at, and I've been talking to the respective counties on them about some options, because quite honestly, they are beyond pothole repair. I mean, I don't even know where you'd start. It's like the whole road is just crumbled. It's just gone. And so I don't know what our best approach is. I mean, I'll get some ideas and then talk with Terry and Tom, and we'll figure out what we need to do and how we prioritize all of that. So for the people listening, whether you're here or watching online, we do care about those roads. I just don't know how to best handle them. We don't have the funds to put what's called a cap, right, where they'd come in and put a new asphalt top on it. We just don't have that kind of money. And I don't know if chip seal and some of these other techniques are going to do what we need to do. But we've got to do something. And as I said before, what I'm learning, and some of you may know this, is that, any crack in that pavement represents a hole that water can get in, and once water gets through the top and softens the ground underneath, it just, bad things happen. So, anyway, we'll continue on that journey. Yep.
When we do pothole repair, can we use
Can't hear you.
Can we what?
can we use the Jesus juice?
What's the Jesus juice?
So it's a mixture that you put in the hole before you put.
Oh, the
hole.
tack, the tack, the tar.
Yeah.
We can, I'll tell you, we've actually, of course, been on this pothole thing
Thank
for a
you.
number of years, working with the volunteer team, and I remember the first run we did, we had some equipment being demoed to us that actually cooked the tack up, and we put it on hot, mopped it in, and then we put the asphalt, rolled it and everything. And my opinion, this is just my opinion, the ones where we just sort of blow the dust out and throw the cold stuff in have held up just as well. What happens is, my experience, is the pothole you fix doesn't fail. It's like a new one appears right around it, right? So I don't think, because it seems like you seal it, you put the tar in and all that, but I don't think it makes any difference, and that stuff is messy. That stuff is hard. The best way to do this road repair is to have somebody else do it. So that's the strategy I'm taking, is let's let somebody else do it. The county is all excited about it. They have the trucks, they have the buying power. We're going to do everything we can to have them doing it. Okay, so moving on to consent agenda. We have two items on there. We have the minutes from June 19th, executive session and regular meeting. Any questions about that?
Well,
We're going to vote on them together.
Typos,
so.
but I already turned them in, so I think. she's
Yeah,
fine.
well, and so and I have your stuff, so these came in after I'd sent the packet out, so I'm okay, Tom, if you want to acknowledge these as changes to this before we vote on it. It's up to you. I don't know. I mean, you made one set of updates, and she included those, and those went into the version that's in the packet.
Yeah,
But then you came back with a handful of other ones.
Well, when we got it, I found a few typos, and they were the major ones were in the first review.
Right.
But these were typos, and not Teresa, Ann came back with, she said she got them changed. So,
Yeah, she did not. I stopped her because what I'm trying to do is change our behavior a little bit, that once the packet goes out, we don't make any changes. If there's a mistake, we'll acknowledge that mistake in the meeting.
okay,
And it'll go into the next. But if you're passionate about the typos and things, I have them all here. If you want to read them out to us,
okay.
we can certainly include those and pass it based on those amendments or based on those changes. So do you want to do that? We'll have to move it
Sure.
down to the regular agenda, so.
Sure, move it to
Okay.
the regular
So
agenda.
do we have a motion to move the minutes to the regular agenda?
Make a motion to move the minutes to the regular.
Okay,
agenda.
motion by Tracy. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Doug. Okay, so that's going to be 0 on the regular agenda. We'll do that right up. Okay, the other thing is the legal bill. Any questions on that?
Make a motion,
Pretty
we
straight.
accept it as it is.
Okay, now I will acknowledge that on the agenda, I put down that it was $430 to lawsuit and $591.25 to other. I failed to see that they charge us 75 cents for copies, so the total is the same. It's $1,022, so that's what you're approving. Okay, so we have a motion by Tom to approve the consent agenda, which right now is only the legal bill. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Terry. Okay, all in favor of approving the legal bill and the consent agenda?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous, that passes. Okay, moving on to regular agenda, item 0, which is the minutes from the June 19th meeting. Tom, do you want to cover your,
Sure. Under,
Correction.
on page 1, under executive session, where it says, it comes down to the lawsuit, it says West versus Poetry. It actually should say West, Smith, and Aiken, or West et al., but West, Smith, and Aiken versus Poetry, and the council members.
okay, well, what do you want it to say?
I say West, Smith, and Aiken versus Poetry and council members.
Okay?
Is that
Next.
what we've
Then-
done, is that what we've done in the past?
Then coming on
Well,
down.
I think, hang on for a second, Tom. So part of the problem is when on the bill, David will mark it as one thing. He just sort of abbreviates it, right? But I think in a lot of our stuff, agendas and things, we've spelled it out.
Well,
right?
yeah, this is a legal document,
Right.
and so,
So I think that's the difference, is we're just going back to what we've kind of been referring to
Right.
it
Yeah,
as.
I've just never seen the council member one before, so,
That's fine.
okay.
Okay, next, Tom?
okay, next is coming on down to fourth line from the bottom, says lawsuit against the town. Council received a brief update on the status of an ongoing court case, actually, the
Got it.
ongoing court
Yeah,
case.
THE, got
We
it.
only got one.
Okay, next?
Page 2, if on the consent agenda, where it comes down to item 4, where it says $752, it's actually $752.50. And then coming on down to item 5, where it says $752.20, it's actually $752.50.
Okay,
Then, over on page 4, on item 5, where it says current road conditions, the first bullet item says Tar Road 2326. It should be just CR 2326.
got it.
And then coming down, concerns raised, Hunt County ILA charges only for fuel and asphalt. Actually, it's fuel and materials, which includes asphalt. Then on page 6, where under item 6, the first bullet says Commissioner Kelly Lane willing to charge only for materials. Well, I thought I understood us to say it's fuel and materials.
No,
It's the
just-
same as.
just
not the
material.
same. So it's not the same as Hunt County?
No, Hunt County is only charging us for materials right now.
No, it's supposed to be fuel and materials.
Well, they're not charging us for fuel, they're charging us for materials, that's it. That's the agreement, and it's also the agreement with Kaufman. They're only charging us for the
No,
material.
Mike, in our ILA, it says fuel and materials.
We're getting the bills, I mean, that's all they're charging
Well,
us for.
no, that's all they're doing.
They have the right to charge us for fuel and other things, but they're opting not to charge us for it.
Okay, well, and that's fine.
So there doesn't need to be change then.
Huh?
So no change on that one then.
So no change. And then,
Yeah.
on page 9, the very first line, I think Lon Aiken's name is spelled incorrectly. I think it
Yeah.
should be A-K-I-N,
Is it?
apostrophe S. it's Aikens Drive. That's all.
I got his phone number, let me see what it is. A-I-K-E-N.
I got K-I-N.
I thought it was A-K-I.
Anybody know how to spell Lon's name?
A-K-I-N.
A-K-I-N, okay, A-K-I-N,
Apostrophe S, possessive.
apostrophe S. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the June 19th minutes with the corrections that Tom provided us?
Make
the
the motion.
motion.
You, Tommy? you-
Sorry.
Okay,
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
okay, motion by Tracy, second by Tom, all in favor?
Aye.
Doug, okay, unanimous, okay, minutes are approved. Okay, moving on, we are now at item 1, so I need to start paying attention here to the comments as we get into that. Okay, so first one on the regular agenda, item 1, discuss and take action as necessary on QuickBooks upgrade. I put this one on here, so as I described here, our current desktop version of QuickBooks is 2021, it's out of date, and it is the desktop version. They no longer offer the desktop version. The only circumstance you can buy QuickBooks Desktop is if you have multiple companies and some other little variations, but we don't qualify for that, so we cannot buy a newer version of QuickBooks Desktop. Everything is going to online in the cloud. I did reach out to our current audit firm and made sure that they didn't have any issues, and they said, no, in fact, that's what all of their clients are using for the most part, is online QuickBooks. So they had no issues with us moving to that, security or otherwise. Again, it does provide some benefit in that they can do a live connection to our QuickBooks, you know, through a secure channel and all of that. We can also set up users in the QuickBooks with different roles and responsibilities. Now, one of the things that I want to add to the QuickBooks is their payroll component. And I did a little cost sheet that kind of lays out how that works. We're currently using an outside company that does an okay job. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them, but I think it would just be cleaner and simpler. Right now, when we run payroll, we have to print out a report from the payroll company, and I have to walk that around to Teresa, and then she enters it into our general ledger as to what we paid in various categories. So there's kind of like 2 steps there, and I don't know, anytime you have steps, I always imagine the potential for error. So because QuickBooks offers a payroll function, lots of people use it. We wouldn't be involved in any kind of an experiment here. There are lots of companies that pay through QuickBooks. I think it would be prudent to move over to the QuickBooks with the payroll module. The levels in the chart there, you can see they have different levels of their package. I picked the medium one for the basic, and then actually the plus. I guess that's just above medium. And then for the payroll, the very basic, the core, because we don't need HR support and all kinds of other things. We just need to be able to pay our folks and file taxes and all that sort of thing. So the cheapest on the payroll, the more expensive on the other. As I laid out in the little table I provided, they've got a promo going on where it's 90% off for the first 3 months. And so for the balance of this year, we would pay $29.50 a month to have the newest version with support, by the way. They offer free migration support, so when we move from desktop to online, they would work with Teresa and make all of that happen. And then they're also available on an ongoing basis if we have any questions, right? If something isn't quite going right or we want to know how to set up something, we have the ability to call in and get ongoing support. The first year cost, because I didn't want to, you know, act like a bait and switch here, the first year cost for it would be $1,690.50. The second year, because the first 3 months are at the reduced rate, and then you're paying full price for the second year, $2,136. Gusto, couldn't think of that. Gusto is the payroll company we're using. And again, they're a good company. They do a nice job. It's just external to our accounting system. Now, in case anybody's wondering, you do have in QuickBooks roles and responsibilities. So clearly, we would separate the person approving payroll from the person doing accounting and all that, so people aren't like paying themselves. So much like it is today, right now, I run payroll, Teresa and Ann receive paychecks. As a result, Teresa does the tracking of it. So we can set up, I think you get 5 logins under the basic package that we would be getting, and so we could have a login where somebody could just look at reports. We can have a login where you can do all kinds of things. We can have an accountant login, which is what Teresa would have, so she would be restricted in only being able to do accounting functions. Anyway, any questions from council, and then we'll go to public?
This expense is going to be this fiscal year?
For the first 3 months, yes, it will be this fiscal year. But again, it's
Has
at
that
this,
been put, the rest of it been put in the budget yet?
Yes.
yes. Yeah, so it's $29.50 a month for the next 3 months, so it'd be very inexpensive. Now, quite honestly, I feel like this is an administrative thing that, you know, the mayor, me, whoever's in the mayor's role should take care of. It's kind of an office thing, but I did want to, out of courtesy to the council, make sure that everybody's aware of it and understand the reasons. Again, what I'm trying to do with this and this journey that I'm on here is I want to bring everything financial to do with the town of Poetry into one system, right? So when we start doing road repairs and other things, we're going to start using the PO component so we can track, you know, like you would track POs in a business. We can track all of those. The council approved $1,000. We put that in a category in QuickBooks. Okay, here comes the expense. We match that to it. We can track that stuff, right? Right now, we're not doing it that way. This will allow us to move in that direction. And generally, it's a good idea, in my experience. I come out of the technology world to always stay pretty current on your software and stuff. You get too far behind, you get into trouble because there's security issues that have been discovered and other things. And so I think, to me, our accounting software is like really important to the town. We don't have a lot of money, but I don't want to lose it, and I definitely want to be able to track it accurately. So I think this is a wise investment.
Yeah, and what we're currently using, the secretaries are having to wait like 5 days to get their checks. So this way, we can.
Yeah, we
distribute
run it
those
on the
checks
first. I think it's actually 3 or 4 days, but there is a few day delay. With this, it would be, and we can still do direct deposit and all the other things that we're doing. So it would speed it up a little bit. So, okay, any other questions from council before we go to
What does
citizens?
Teresa have to say?
About this?
Yeah.
She's very excited,
Okay.
very excited. I mean, not that the desktop isn't working. It works. It's just, you know, we're falling
Would it make her
behind.
job better or easier?
Yeah, I think it's going to make her job easier, and I think it's going to
Okay.
add some,
Well,
it's going to add some certainty, I think, to
And,
our
and,
accounting.
and our reports will probably look better. Hopefully, we will see them better.
Well, you have to imagine in 4 years, they probably improved the software, and, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it still adds numbers the same, but I bet it does do some other, well, in fact, one of the things it does is you can type your budget in, and QuickBooks will hold you accountable to the budget. We
That's
don't
right.
have that right now.
Yeah.
We have to manually do all of that stuff. So we'll type our budget in, we'll load it into QuickBooks, and then QuickBooks will hold us to that budget, right? It'll show us the differences and things. So I think that's going to be good as well. It does some nice things. And again, they've got much higher end packages, but I didn't choose those because we just don't need them. I just stopped at the level that addresses what I believe are our critical needs. So.
And that was the 2136.
Yeah, 2136 is full price.
I just
That's
want to make sure that was right.
in the
number
second
budget.
year.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, council?
I appreciate you coming to us and not doing the month-to-month thing and coming to us and giving us the total figure. I think that's very important when we move forward and we're buying different things that just you could have discretion over. I really appreciate you bringing this to us.
Well, and I'd never, it wouldn't occur to me to not involve council. I don't want to bog council down with little do we put plants in front of the building? Do we, whatever. I just want to try to avoid those kind of things and keep us to the business end of things. You guys are the legislators, so.
So Mayor, if we're talking kind of business, are you wanting something like a motion as far as us accepting what you presented to us using QuickBooks? Because otherwise, if we wanted to include the cost or when we do the budget, that cost will be approved with the budget.
I don't think it's a bad idea. Let's hear from the citizens before we do any motions. And David, can you crank the volume up on the laptop a little bit? They tell me online is a little bit weak. Can you just slide it up on the YouTube side? Yeah, I don't think, I mean, since we've taken our time to have the conversation, I don't think it hurts to have a motion or approval, but let's hear from the citizens first, and we have some people that signed up to speak on this. We're trying a new timer, by the way, so hopefully it works out. It's nice and bright, and we think we know how to operate it, so. First up, Tara signed up to speak on this one.
Tara Sinkovich Poetry. So 15 years ago, Sage Peachtree started out with like a $300 a year kind of fee, and I will tell you, fast forward to current, they charge now $3,500. So in seeing the desktop in a year and a half ago, when we brought this to council, Teresa didn't want to make the change because there's a lot going on. So I do know that they're forcing, of course, they're doing away with the desktop, as you've heard, and I think that one of the reasons it's a moneymaker for them, so they're going online, so they tamp down on the abilities of the desktop, what I've noticed. So it is becoming more frustrating. And I know before in my own business, before we updated, the payroll module was a nightmare. They were actually creating problems that I'd have to changing dates. It was really insidious, actually, but that's what they do, apparently, to force you into the next module. So I did notice it's a 29% increase from the first year to the second year, so just watch out. So it sounds like they're following that kind of model. But I do think that it will help with the reporting. I am concerned on the payroll. Does it mean that you would have to do the taxes, or is it doing everything? Like Gusto does everything. You know, all you do is put the hours in, and it does the direct deposit, and it does the quarterly taxes, all the payroll taxes each time, and then gives you the report. So with this module, is that including you doing the quarterly taxes and the payroll taxes, or is that they're going to do 100% of it? It's just kind of my question on that. It's just something
Okay.
to
Is that
consider.
it? Okay, so just as a factual response, yes, if you look at the little overview, it does all the calculations. I mean, it files the taxes and calculates the taxes and creates pay stubs and all of that. It's a full service, just like Gusto. It does exactly what Gusto
Okay,
does.
because they have both, I believe.
Yeah,
So
no, the
you pay
package-
more for them doing the work, and like Gusto's doing 100% of the work. But if, like prior, you
Yeah.
save money if you're doing it yourself, and anyway,
Yeah,
just
it's an exact
clarification.
trade-out. It'll do exactly what Gusto does, so. Okay, also to speak on this topic, Robin Followill. Okay, Robin passes. Ryan Lutz. Okay, Ryan passes. Okay, so that's all I have on that agenda item. Is our timer working?
Is the timer working?
Hey, it's nice and bright. I don't know if it means anything, but it's easy to see. Okay, so back to council. Do I have a motion to approve moving over to QuickBooks upgrade with payroll?
Mayor, I make a motion that we move over to QuickBooks for complete financial reporting and scheduling and so forth like that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Kendrick. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Councilmember Anderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're unanimous on that, so that's approved.
Mayor, I also want to say I appreciate your work on getting all of this done, because we all know how we all are working, but we also want to recognize you for your work behind the scenes.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm just trying to make everybody's life a little bit easier, including mine, so. Okay, agenda item 2, discuss and take action as necessary on next steps for P&Z implementation. As I say in the note here, prior council passed zoning ordinance back in March of 2024. and we need to begin laying out our P&Z plan, including next steps. Now, Robin is going to get up in a minute here and speak, but before I invite her up, what, you're not going to get up and speak? Anyway, let me give a little introduction to this. So, a couple of things at the risk of getting somebody overly excited. Tonight's conversation is not about doing away with zoning. It's not about radically changing zoning. It's about acknowledging the fact that we have a zoning ordinance in place, right? It's been in place for quite some time. But having a zoning ordinance is sort of like having insurance papers where you filled out the application and you put them in the drawer, right? You don't actually have insurance yet because you didn't send them in, it didn't become a policy and all of that. So there are other things that need to happen around a zoning ordinance before it becomes like real and it becomes in effect and all of that. And so what I want us to do tonight is just to explore what it takes to go from, okay, we have an ordinance and it's got a lot of detail in it. How do we implement that? How do we get it going? Because I can tell you, as mayor for just the last 2-3 months, however long it's been, I've actually received quite a few phone calls from people that have bought land in Poetry and they intend to build a house and they intend to build a shop and they intend to put in a driveway and fence and all that, and they want to know what the rules are. And as much as I can point them to the document we passed, they also want to know if there's permits and all of that. And they're all good questions, but all I can tell them is, listen, we have a zoning ordinance, and I would encourage you, I've actually started sending them to Dale, because he's read up on it probably as much as any of us. I encourage them to comply with what's in that ordinance to avoid future non-compliance, right? Because we don't want them building a brand new home or a brand new shop or developing their property in some way that just from the get-go is, inconsistent. So we got to figure out, and it's more than, me just saying, yeah, you can do that. Yeah, that's not zoning done right? We've got to have this proper. So, Robin, I'll let you kind of give your background, but, Robin's got a lot of experience in the municipal space. Dale has dabbled in some of this a little bit. So I just want us to kind of have a conversation about what this journey of putting zoning into effect, and we're not going to vote on anything, but we're going to start getting some ideas so that we know which way to go and what's in front of us.
Sure. So, Robin Followill, Poetry. So, yes, I do have, municipality experience. When I was in City of Seagoville, I was the admin to the Public Works Director, but it was a very small city, so you were cross-trained in every department. And that's actually where I met Dell, was from our building inspection there. He came, got permits, all that kind of stuff. And I also was part of the water department and all that kind of billing, adjustments, all that stuff. Then when I went to Mesquite, I worked in water billing there for a while, did meters, all that good stuff. Then went to building inspection. I was a senior permit tech for 5 years. I've been a zoning inspector for 3. I have my IPMC certification, my zoning certification that are both international, Code Officer 1 and 2. But that was the thing with this one. We passed it over a year ago. Definitely saw issues in here that we need to have. The biggest thing is, let's just say if Bob bought land last month and he wants to build in 3 months. Well, first off, yeah, we have an ordinance, but we don't have a building code. And we refer to the counties to what their building code is. But that's the problem. That's not fair to every citizen, because if Kaufman County is on 2015, Rockwall is on 2021, and you've got the other one on 18, Hunt County. So that means everyone that wants to build a house in 4 months, let's say somebody in each one of those counties want to build a house in 4 months, and they go by the county building code. They're not all built to the same standard. So that's why I've been saying from the get-go years ago, we need to adopt a building code. Just so that when people build stuff, it's across the board
same quality, everyone's home that's being built from that point going forward. It's also easier to regulate when we do start doing permits and we have the contractors doing it third party, it's not confusing to them. Oh, I've crossed the line, now I'm in so-and-so county instead of this one, and they're on a complete different code. And they don't know that, and they come and have their third-party inspection, then it's gonna fail. Then we've got another issue. Now the town's responsible for not informing us. It's another way we could get ourselves in trouble if we're not having a building code just straight across the board. Not saying you gotta have the highest, but you need to pick one, state minimum, whatever, just so they're all built at the same.
I guess one of the many challenges we'll have in this area, Robin, and I can imagine, I like your comment about everywhere we can, we need to level the playing field for all 3 counties that we're in, right?
Yeah.
So that residents on one side of the highway are not treated differently than residents on the other.
Or their standard of what's being built is not as good as over here.
But the other dividing line we have is in the town versus in the ETJ, right? And I don't know that we're going to solve any of that tonight, but it's kind of like if they buy property that's in Poetry but also hangs out into the ETJ, now the ETJ, if they build the entire house out there, I'm guessing they're going to comply with the county building code, whatever version they're on, so I don't know.
Yeah, that is what you're going to find is,
Microphone, talk.
what you're going to find is that,
You're on.
You're on.
Just talk.
what you're going to find out is we're going to have a lot of properties or buildings where half the house is in the ETJ and the other half is in the town.
Well, and I don't want to
be, I mean, that's one of the issues that we do need to clean up.
Right, and I don't want to bog the conversation
Yeah,
down,
I'm not
because
trying to
that's
do
a
that,
sort of another issue, just creating an awareness. But I guess I wonder, does that drive the decision to some extent as to what building code we adopt,
Yeah,
right? If
well-
we pick 2025 and we find out Kaufman, Hunt, and Rockwell are on like 2018 or something, now they're going to be
Well,
really
what you do-
incented to maybe move the building back because they can go to an easier code.
Well, what we would do, I would think, being a town as small as we are, is just go to third-party contractors to do the inspections. By doing that, you select a contractor, say, okay, which code are y'all most comfortable with? And I tend to want to lean to the most current version of the building code if we're going to go to a third party, because third party's already there. The reason why there's always a delay sometimes, because towns takes them a year or two to go from 2018 to 2020. And where these third-party contractors, what they do, they're there, because they've already have another client, another town, that has adopted that building code. So I think the best thing for us to do would be to go ahead and adopt the most current code.
Well,
I would like to point out one thing as far as you wanting to be the most current and why cities are behind. She's mentioned the 2021 code somewhere in 2018, because those municipalities or authorities having jurisdiction, be it the county, they go in there and make changes to those. And they've got an IBC code that's this big, and they've got an amendment code that's this big. So typically, I would think the lesser opposite of what you think, because a lot of that stuff's been washed out already, right? They're not changing,
thank you, Scott.
they're not, sometimes codes are changed to improve stuff. Something codes are changed to keep it similar to
Correct.
what they already have.
Yes.
And
If
I
that
agree.
makes sense.
All I'm saying is let's look towards our contractor and kind of see maybe
When you
where
say
the
contractor, you mean third-party vendor.
inspectors.
Yeah.
vendor
Inspectors, whoever
do
we
the
would rent to.
inspections.
Now,
What would
is
they
it,
be most
is it the
comfortable?
case, Robin, that when you adopt a building code, you adopt it in its entirety? I mean, you're not free to like make changes, right? So,
That's what he's talking about, like.
oh,
so-
every city?
Yeah, for any code at that, like, for example, like, our city is fixing to move, it's gonna go ahead and move up to 24, which is a huge jump. We're going from 18 to 24. We're missing 21, which for the town, the revenue, all the stuff that Dale keeps talking about that we would be charging these people that would make our city more money, when you go to the higher ones, we make more of the benefit. And then we get to hold it to, even if it's a new construction for a commercial or home, it's all better safety across the board. But, so like, for example, when you say, okay, we're gonna adopt, even if you said, okay, we're gonna adopt the 21 across the board for building, plumbing, mechanical, then, once you've adopted that whole code for all of those categories, then you can go in and make those amendments, like what Terry's talking about, to make it kind of less restrict for your city. Or if there's something that you like, but you want to add to it.
Robin, put your hands on the stand.
Yeah, you're okay.
Oh, put it on them? Okay. To make it where if there's a certain part of a section of the book that you want it more restrict than what that code is, you would make the amendment for that also.
Okay. I guess that makes my head hurt,
It-
because if we could just
It's-
like say, we're
it's a-
going with this book and everything in there is the
It gets to
gospel.
be
that
a
would
lot. I mean, and
We
so.
can, Mike. We absolutely can.
Okay,
We
well,
don't
again,
have
we
to
don't, we
make.
don't.
No,
need to
and it
solve that
doesn't have to,
problem.
it does not have to be that complicated, but to get to your base to where, when you have someone that comes in and wants to build, they have a standard as to, okay, we're going by this code, and it's no confusion as to where they're building in the town, because it's the code for the
What
whole
is the
town.
current minimum standard for the state of Texas? Is it 12,
I think it's 15 now.
15?
It's because they just went up to 24, so I'm almost positive it's 15. But I know the electrical, like I said, is 23.
And I say that because the pulse of the previous council, and this council hasn't spoke of it, was not to be difficult. It was
Right.
just to start defining
Right.
things.
Right.
So in my opinion, back to the other point,
Yeah.
I would pick the lesser of anything, because I do agree with you, we have to have a code so a third-party vendor can grade them against something. We don't have that service, we can't pay for that employee. So I would lean more towards the state minimum, but if it is currently 15, when 27 comes out, it's gonna move to 18.
Yeah.
But I thought it was 12, but yeah.
So,
I think it changed just this year, though.
so just so I understand,
Mm-hmm.
in order to implement P and Z, we have to come up with a building code. What else?
Well, so that's part of it, just so you at least have that standard. The other thing is, I know another big deal, I mean, so let's say, for example, you have a building code and you've got stuff going, and you've got third parties then, now you have violations. They're not doing something. Well, if you don't have a third-party code enforcement officer, you're not going to be able to enforce nothing. And once they find out you don't have one, they're not going to give a damn if they're doing something right or wrong. They're going to do it their way because you don't have anybody to give them a notice of violation to correct within 10 business days or to write them a citation. So I know we've got it in there about that, but you've also got to think about doing a third party for your code enforcement because, like I said, your developers find out you don't have anybody to enforce your code.
Yeah.
So Robin, could the third-party code enforcement officer, could they also take care of the fees and email those to us?
Which fees are
So
we
like
talking
if
about?
We would do it. I
We
would
could
think
do it.
we
Yeah.
would have to set those fees up,
Okay.
part of
So,
our development.
You have a
agreement,
committee
Right,
that.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
And we would collect it.
we would collect, okay,
Yeah. The
Now,
only thing,
There's a ton of things that's
your-
going to
your
happen
code-
because of that.
right.
yeah, your code enforcement, basically is going to be, okay, you tell them that there's a violation, they go out there, they investigate it. Normally, if they can talk to the person, they do. They then do a written notice that's good, that has correction for 10 days. If it's not done in 10 days, you don't have to give a second notice or a final notice. That's completely up to the code inspector if they want to or if they've been encouraged to by the mayor or council. But normally after your 10 days, And a lot of time, that's if we haven't heard from whoever you send the notice to at all. Like, you get it, they're blowing you off because you hadn't heard, you hadn't got a phone call, email, nothing. Then you just start writing citations. You get a picture of the violation, and you send them a citation.
And that would be the
And
enforcer?
Code enforcement, yeah.
Okay, that takes a picture, okay.
Let me ask you a two-part question. I'm asking both and then let you filter both. Are you familiar with Bureau Veritas?
With who?
Bureau of Veritas. It's a third-party vendor. A lot of small towns use. Okay. Actually, Union Valley uses them. Anyways, if you're unfamiliar with them, I guess I'll go another direction. Do third-party vendors have enforcement? Because I don't think they do. I think that would be another vendor. But what I wanted to mention is, most people that are borrowing money to build these houses, they're not building them out of their pocket, they're borrowing money. If we require an inspection and the inspection fails, the bank doesn't fund it. There's the enforcement, right? The only enforcement worries that I would have would be the cash builders, because they have nobody on the other side right now.
Well, so, I mean, like, for example, if it was me in one of our homes in Mesquite, for example, and we had to write a ticket because of something the builder's not doing, I mean, the builder's the one paying that. It will be wrote to him, not the homeowner, and the homeowner shouldn't be responsible for having to pay any of it because it's the contractor's fault. That's another reason why, in our town, even though, like, if you had the full ability to do the job at your house, whatever you were doing, and it required a permit, we tell you all the time, you have your contractor pull that permit, because then we can hold them 100% responsible. If it was plumbing, electrical, mechanical, something like that they were doing at your house, and it's not right, and we go out there and say, hey, this is not up to code, and they say, I'm not going to fix it, oh, yeah, you are, because we're going to write you a ticket, and we're going to call TDLR if you don't straighten up, and we'll report your license. It's the only way you can actually protect your homeowners that's having contractor work done that's needing a permit. So, I mean, yes, in a big city, as a homeowner, you can pull your own your own permit if you're homesteaded. But a lot of people also do that and then shoot themselves in the foot, because they do that so their contractor doesn't have to pay a fee and they don't have to register and pull the permit, and then they normally skip out and screw the homeowner, and they're out the money and crappy work. So I know we're a little town, but I'm just saying, that's how ideally it works, and how you also protect your citizens by making that third party have to be the one to pull the permits. They're the ones that are going to get the citations if they're not doing the homeowner right by the quality of the work.
I think what we need to do is clarify something, because code officers do city ordinances and things like that. She's on target, y'all are both on target, but when you're doing an inspection on a construction site, it's the third party or employee does the inspection. So if it's a framer and the framer gets a red tag, something's wrong, it's not so much 10 days, because the inspector can say, I'm not doing any more inspections until you get the framing done, because it's a domino effect. So there's a little difference between code enforcement, where you have 10 days, but when you're in construction with the building inspectors, they are the ones that put their feet to the fire on the contractor. So kind of a different, two different scenarios, but it does get confusing. I just want to make sure y'all are clearing that up, and as we go down that trail, I would recommend International Building Code. I mean, I've done codes before, and had to do amendments and things like that, but you've got international codes for all the trades. So it's an easy peasy thing. That way, somebody says, hey, I want to build whatever, they'll ask you what building code you're under, and you go, I'm international, whatever year it is. So, but electric is a little different. They have their own year of approvals and stuff, but international codes seem to be the easiest ones I've ever dealt with.
And something else that's going to be just a little tricky for our town, unfortunately, is whoever you hire to be your code enforcement officer. So when you, as an example, let's say you write a citation, okay? And you write one to Amy, and Amy lives in Kaufman County. And then your code officer later writes ones to Bob, and he's in Hunt County. And your other one is in Rockwell. Your code enforcement officer is going to have to be basically registered with each county. They're going to have their own officer number for each county. They're going to have to appear in court for each county. So just, I want you to realize that's going to be a lot of work
That
for
would
your.
be the ETJ territory. Yeah, okay.
And so I just, because like I said, I'm in court 2 days a week and 3 on third week of the month, because there's virtual court when these people get their big-time lawyers in. So just also keep that in mind when you're interviewing or talking to somebody like that. Make them aware they're responsible in 3 different counties.
So, just kind of check marking here. So far I've heard we need a building code. We need a code enforcement officer, that function. We need an inspector. That's not the same, right?
No, they're not the same.
Okay.
You've got building, so like, for example, like what Doug was talking about, so you've got your, so your code enforcement license officer is only licensed in the state of Texas. Our ICC certs that we have, those are international, and that gives us the ability to be inspectors. So like my zoning is an international zoning inspector, and my property maintenance is international, just like Terry's and Doug. Those are international certifications for them to do inspections in their cities. So you would have, your code enforcement is just for your notices. All right, my hands are here, sorry. So those are just your enforcement for your town in this state. Your inspectors for like framework, slabs, anything like that, that's going to be inspectors that have that international license.
Okay, and then we have permits.
Right. So that would be
Yes.
for your single-family homes. I mean, you know, you'd have it if we did have like another small little business or something that came in, they would get a permit for theirs. I know I'm going to say this and people are going to.
Well, permits could be, permits would be even reading through our zoning deal.
Yeah.
If somebody submits for building, I mean, they got to get a permit, and that impacts
Well-
the impact.
Or signage for a new
Usually what you
business.
would do is charge, you have a plan review fee as part of that inspection. And then again, it would be a third party that we would hire. And usually it's one of the inspection firms, and they would actually go through the plans and approve them. And they'll stamp them. You got to have a stamped copy on the job site all the time. If you don't, they'll turn around, walk out and red tag you. You know, and so it's all a process. We're not doing anything new or unusual. We're doing what every town is doing.
And under your plan review, whoever's doing that, they're just basically, it's where the person that's wanting to do the business or what they're wanting to build, they're presenting exactly what they're wanting to do with all the information. And so whoever is assigned or is part of the committee, they review it and just make sure it meets the guidelines that we have for, you know, is that type of business allowed in that type of area they're wanting to do it. We're just trying to make sure that, and also their signage, you know, to make sure that their signage meets. That's the only other thing about your signage in here that I don't like, is that there doesn't say anything about illumination. That's something definitely down the road we probably need to add, just tweak that, about the illumination. That's the candlelight that it projects off for, like, if you do have residents that live close to that, it doesn't candlelight into their house. You think it won't, but man, I'll tell you how
Talking
many.
about like billboard signage and that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know we talked about it, so I
Yeah.
need to review that. I did want to point out, I guess, just to clarify all this, little cities don't hire people to do those jobs.
Right.
They hire vendors. Bureau Veritas is just one. I'm not soliciting for them. Actually, not that big a fan as a contractor working for them. But take for city of Quinlan, when we say permits, they figure out what that whole inspection process looks like. Bureau Veritas handles it all. The plan review, the plumbing inspection, pre-slab inspection, framing inspection, that's what the permit fee is.
It
Now, the
includes it
city
all.
does get to make some money off that for administrative purposes, but that's where the permit fee comes in. So for us, we either have to decide we're gonna hire someone to do that job, which we're broke, or we have to start talking to third-party vendors to see what that fee schedule looks
And
like.
our P and Z committee
Yeah, you need to,
provide the oversight of the third-party contractors. You know, they would say, okay, here's my review.
which y'all
They
don't
would
have,
take the
you don't
review.
have a P and Z committee, you don't have a volunteer one either. So, I mean, normally that you always have one of those to help with that type of stuff.
But it's all
So-
built into the fees.
Now, does this conversation go all the way to us issuing certificates of occupancy? I mean, is that all? part and
Technically, if
parcel?
it's a
Probably
business,
headed.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just like,
For a number of
And
reasons.
all that, technically, all that CO basically is that you've applied, you're letting the town know exactly what you're planning on putting in, in the building, what your operation's gonna be. Then when the inspection actually happens for the CO inspection, it's all life safety at that point. It's making sure all your exits are there, your hydrant, your fire extinguishers, your exit doors, that your knobs, you have the right number of facilities for which you got going on. So it's all public safety at that point when you get the CO. And so when that's issued, it says, yes, you've made all the state requirements to
Well,
operate a business.
On residentials, when they do a final inspection, when they do everything, turn on the water, electricity, that is the so-called final. So they don't
Yeah.
do a CO on residentials or
Yeah.
anything like that.
And you actually get a piece of paper.
You get a piece of paper
That
that's
has to
saying
be
you've built
posted
everything to the standards, it's good to go for water, it's good to go for electric, it is move-in ready.
Now, you can't even get your meter hooked up without the CO.
So one of the things I think we need to do, council, is we need to go research what the 3 counties we lie in have as standards for building code, for whatever. I mean, all the components, because right now, that's the reality of what's going on, right, is the counties.
The third party guys, they already know that. I think we might want to skip a step, go straight to some third parties and talk to them, and they're going to be able to tell you that, right? I'm off
Well, as long
top
as
of
the
my head.
meter's not running, I mean, if they're charging us, then
Well,
we need to do it ourselves.
we'll look
well,
at the
they'll give you
fees.
an
Yeah, we'll
estimate.
look at the fee
They'll
schedule.
give you
Yeah, they
they'll give
always,
you a free consultation.
Yeah.
Just-
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
anyway, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah, you're-
at least
it'll
for
be
me,
free.
and I think others would be curious too, is like, what are the expectations right now without Poetry doing any P and Z that people are up against? Because somebody out there is dictating what they're doing on sewage, what they're doing on building, what they're doing on,
Well, having driven around quite a bit, working on this signage, there's some people building without a permit when you don't know about it.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't know.
and the county,
And
it's always,
There's a lot more than you think.
no, I know.
it's, we reference to the county. Well,
'Cause
these
we need
people
to
out here in the
educate the
country,
people.
they're like, well, you're not holding me to anything, I'm not gonna do nothing with the county, I'm gonna build what I wanna build, how I wanna build it. And, so until we kinda get to the point where we're like, okay, this is the code we're gonna go by, and we are gonna do permits. And so like, for example, like, let's say that we adopted a code and we're like, we have the permits and these are gonna be our fees. And Doug drives by down the street and someone's doing a full-blown out construction. Well, then he's gonna notify your code enforcement person, however y'all do that. And then they can go over there and give them, they can issue a red tag also, but then they can do a notice for the 10 days. The red tag, they can put on their stop work order, and if they choose to build the next day, well, that'll be unfortunate for them, because then it's a ticket. They can do a stop work permit, stop work because they don't have a permit, and require them to get one.
But if you write tickets, I mean, what is the mechanism for, is there a court? Do they have a right to a hearing? Do they have a right to a protest?
Yeah,
Or
so normally how,
That's for
so,
code enforcement, not a building inspector.
yeah,
It's just strictly for code enforcement.
Right, but if they're building, let's say, a shoddy building that doesn't meet up to whatever our standards are,
Your zoning inspector can still write those same tickets, because I do it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a team effort.
Yeah.
So when you have those issues, whether it's a sign or it's strictly a building, you team up with code enforcement and the building inspectors, and they team up and they put their stuff together. And if it is a ticket issued by code enforcement, they're the ones that go to court.
And that's the thing, like, like I said, all I do all day basically is enforce our zoning ordinance in our town. But I mean, like, for example, if you write Bob a ticket, then Bob has to contact the court to get his court date. He goes, his day in court, your code officer's there, and it's not the trial. It's a pre-hearing. And that's basically when they call you in and they have the code officer, they call you up, and the prosecutor will say, is Bob in compliance now? This is where the whole game changes for everybody, because if they have then been workable, they're in compliance, the code officer just has to say, yes, they're in compliance now. It's the code enforcement's discretion to say, okay, I want the fee, like, if it's someone that works with you really well and you don't have any problems, I want a heavily reduction. They take those tickets down to basically almost nothing in court costs, which is $76 that no county can do. That's state cost, is $76, then whatever. You can do a full dismissal. If they're being a real butt, you can say full fine. But then that's Bob's choice at that point. If he takes whatever they're putting on the table, if he was in compliance and the deal they're willing to make him, if he doesn't like it and doesn't want it, then he has the right to the trial. He has a right to pick trial by judge or by jury or bench. So there's still options. And here's the other deal. Let's say you set a trial, they're going to have another pre-trial before that. And that's where well, it's a little different in our situation, but like our city prosecutor meets with them right before their trial and say, okay, this is all the evidence we're going to present. Do you still want to make a deal? Do you still want to take that little $200 we offered you before, opposed to if you lose in here and with the jury or the judge and it goes to $2,000? Do you want to take what we tried to give you the first time? I mean, they still give you plenty of opportunities to not have to pay a fee.
So for simplification of this, we don't know what we don't know. We got a lot of education tonight. I think it'd be worthwhile to what we discussed and making a trip across Sabine River and talking to Craig and see how
Craig's happy to talk to us. We just got to get our schedules right, because
we have
he's having a meeting tonight in Union Valley on zoning.
Yeah.
So they're talking about it right down the road,
think
which
that
is
would be
why
the
he
next
couldn't
step.
come here. Okay.
But like I said, for everybody that already lives here, already has stuff built, putting up a fence in a month, none of that affects you.
No.
You know, I mean, and I think that's what really scares a lot of people when we talk about this type of stuff, or we talk about a building code. They're like, oh my gosh, they're going to come inspect what I've got done, and it may not be up to. None of that matters right now. This is all for future, new build
Right.
things.
Well, and especially larger developments, I mean, for
Yes.
whatever influence we can have in the ETJs and all, I just want to make
But
sure that, you know, if one house shows up that's non-conforming, that's one thing, but if hundreds of them show up or
You
thousands.
got a block that shows up, we got a problem.
Yeah, that's a big issue, so
Yeah.
we want to,
Especially if they're all done not to the standards of the work. You know, they're half done, they're half wired, you know, because that's what we want in our town going forward that's being built, are good, safe, economical, affordable homes. So we want everybody to be able to have the same equal opportunity that is building in our town going forward.
Right, and once we establish what those codes are,
Right.
it can
It
drop
flows
in
very
charge.
easy.
Yeah.
Yes.
well, and I think too, we need to, you know, the idea of setbacks and other things have come up before. We need to sort of go back through and scrub our current document, because in fairness, a lot, right as it was being passed, a lot was going on, there was a lot of changes and edits and all that, but we have something that's cast in stone. We need to go look at that and make sure we agree, because I know one of the glaring, and this isn't an issue with the document necessarily, but one of the things that would really get my attention is if somebody bought property next to me and built like right on the fence.
Well, and
That's
also.
some big obnoxious building or something, so we need to go back through as part of
So-
this, and,
Well, and something else too, that's not necessarily commercial but residential, because we fight this all the time too. A neighbor will think that, oh, I need to go put these big old LED plates on the side of their house. Well, you'll be amazed how far that actually shines. And then now it's
Blind the
blinding
neighbor.
into the neighbors. And then you go over there, okay, I need you to flatten to a 90 degree so it doesn't project it out. And they have a lot of pushback, but we need to have something in there about the candlelight also for residential, not just commercial.
We can just do what is it, dark sky ordinance?
Yeah.
So I'd like to make
Agree
a
with that.
motion that we,
well, no motions, just comments.
well, that, or at a discussion, at some point, we need a motion to establish a P and Z committee to get started.
Yeah. Well, but I think like the impact fees,
And I would
I
say
want to
the
know what
motion
the
would be-
road looks like before we start making
We
commitments.
still need a
just so-
committee,
Yes.
because there's a ton of other things, like you said, the little tweaks.
We are
that
that
we can
committee.
still be doing. We can.
We
but
are.
I know that, but by having a citizen committee that would go through there and drill down and get us the language and bring it to us.
I'd like to see it described sort of in a diagram, right? Like, what does it look like? And cost and all of that, because once we get pregnant, we're having a baby, so we need to figure that out.
No, and I'm.
Well,
I'm
I
saying
don't
the
charge
same thing.
anything, so I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just doing this for free.
I'm saying the same thing. We're not going to establish that. That building code's going to take a year.
Yeah, I don't know.
But all these other little things is what a P and Z committee can be working on to clean up where we have a better document a year from now when we're ready to institute building permits. That's all.
Okay.
Let's give them a good document to go to work on.
Right.
Okay.
And we can't do anything until next year anyway, because we haven't budgeted for it.
Well, let's,
The committee's normally a volunteer. It's
Right.
not, so it's not going to cost anything on that part.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I'm just
let's-
talking about anything monetary
Oh,
or
yeah.
we're talking about fees.
Yeah.
We don't have that budgeted for this year, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a goal for the next year.
okay, well, let's pause the conversation here. I think to Terry's point, and I did try to arrange this for this week, but everybody's schedule was off, but let's try to get with Craig, the mayor of Union Valley, and I'd like you, Robin, involved in that too. And Robin, are you willing to kind of hang on this project for a little bit
Yeah.
while we try to get it laid out?
Yeah,
You've got a lot of passion and some experience. so
I
think
already
you'll be
told my
involved.
husband, he's already asked how much more that I think I can do, but he knows the P and Z thing's important, so.
Well, because I do think it's incumbent on us as the current leadership of the town we need to be working on this. I mean, we need to be making progress, and it may take a while, and that's okay, but we need to be working on it. So I want to keep the conversation going, but clearly, we're not going to resolve anything. We are going to hear from the citizens in a minute, but, we're not going to solve this tonight, but I appreciate the introduction and
Yeah.
the brief education. I think that's helpful, and it's just, I just want to know before we get involved, I mean, I know what we have, but it's like, what does this road look like? How long is it? How wide is it? How much does it cost? Because, and little freebie consulting sessions with these people are fine, but when it starts costing money, we need to be careful, because I just feel like we're going to, it's got a lot of pieces. It sounds like a lot of components, so.
Yep.
Okay, well,
Okay.
thank you very much, Robin, and let's move over to citizens that wanted to speak on this topic. First up, I have Tara Sinkovich.
The whole topic made my head hurt. A lot of folks out here in the rural area, they like as few rules as possible. You start talking about putting permits and rules. I know on one hand, people that will be livid. I understand that, in larger cities, you've got to have that. I do, after talking with Craig just a few months ago, they do use Veritas. I think a lot of the smaller towns, I think Talty did. I'm not sure if they still do. They're about the size of us as well, 2,000 roughly. So but, you know, and I think Mayor Craig said that in 1 year they had 1 violation. So, you know, we're not a 100,000 plus population. We're not going to have, I don't think, to allay some people's fears, you know, and I appreciate all the expertise and I appreciate, you know, for what that is. But like, you know, Mayor Craig, and I don't know that Talty has that many either, but when we start talking about, I'm perfectly fine with the county handling our issues. I'm really good with that. When I was a general contractor in my home 22 years ago. The bank made 3 inspections, or I didn't get my loan. I was perfectly fine with that. When I renovated for my feed store business, the county did the inspection, and I think they had 2 or 3 inspections. I was perfectly fine with that, so. Anyway.
But there's some things that are required by law since we established a P&Z in the previous council, and we need to move forward with those things, regardless of, you know, I want that small town feel. I don't want, all this makes my head hurt, but we are obligated by law to things.
So it was a hot topic button, is what Mayor Craig said. They didn't have permitting for years, and when they did implement it, it was a real hot button, so just be aware.
Okay,
You have
good,
plenty of
thank you.
time
We're
to
not,
do that.
let's not get into a debate, because we'll be here till, the air conditioning goes off at 9, okay? So just keep that in mind. Robin, did you want to talk some more? Ryan, you're up next. Okay, just keep track of your time, Ryan. At 3 minutes, sit down.
Okay, I'll be quick, I promise. So I think I'm seeing eye to eye with Mike on this one, as we really need to understand the road and how big it is and how wide it is. I would hate for us to accidentally, you know, make our government bigger, or, you know, trying to enforce something that may or may not actually be an issue. On the backside, to Tara's point, is looking at some of the other towns and what population point or what housing point did permitting really make a difference to them. I hate to start it too early and invest a lot of time and energy trying to fix a problem that isn't there or really isn't on our realistic horizon yet.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Okay, that's all for our citizens. Any closing comments from council? Short closing comment?
I'll keep mine short. Permit fees pay for the inspections that this town has to make. For this ordinance that the council, the most contentious ordinance we have, that the previous council passed, that none of the yes votes are sitting up here. That's what those are for, period.
Yep.
Mike, I want to go over this ordinance with a fine-tooth comb before we implement any of it.
That's why we're just having a conversation, we're not acting.
And I'd like to make a comment. Again, just want to reiterate, there's a lot more to this document that needs to be tweaked, that we could be tweaking now. And that's the only reason, we just need to start talking about how we're going to get that done. And how we're going to do that is with a volunteer, at the time, present time, a volunteer committee to work through those tweaks. And there are a lot of them, because this is going to get you a lawsuit.
Okay.
Promise you.
Well, we've only budgeted for 1 lawsuit this year, so we can't afford another one, so. Well, suffice it to say, it's going to be complicated, but I want to continue to keep us focused on the future, not the past. We are where we are, and we have an ordinance, and let's see what we can do with it and how we can be responsible as the current leadership of the town. And again, I feel for the people that are calling me that want to build a house, and they just want to make sure their house is not going to be like in violation of something, and I don't know what to tell them. I mean,
Well, and,
the only thing I can say with confidence is we're going to have permits. We don't have permits.
I mean, they don't have to call us, and I appreciate them calling us.
No, I think they're trying to do the right thing, and if they've got a bank loan, they probably got a bank guy that's telling them, you better find out, because we're not paying you money unless you build it. So anyway, we can't ignore this. We have to address this. I don't know what the answer is, and, you know, we just got to figure it out, so. Okay, good answer. Okay, so for the benefit of the video, Robin, who was up at the podium a few minutes ago, was just adding in that the better answer that I should give is you need to call the respective county that you're in and see what their requirements are.
I tend to disagree with that, just like the case that we had this last week. Didn't make any decisions. He didn't have a site plan yet. I went and looked at his lot and knew where he was at. I said, okay, when you get your site plan, come back to us. And that way we would have that, at least from the city standpoint, of where's that building on the land, where are the setbacks, you know, talk to him about those setbacks and look at that site plan. But then after that, at this point, you're exactly right. You got to go to the county. We're not going to be doing building permits, but we don't want a new citizen to come in and spend $500,000 on a house that's non-compliant or doesn't meet setbacks or something. That's the part we need to be, we're going to have to, unfortunately, be active now to do.
Okay, well, we're not going to figure it out tonight, and I'm feeling a little like the mouse that put his foot in the glue trap, and so we're not going to put the other 3 feet in the glue trap tonight. We'll wait and have that experience later. Moving on to agenda item 3, discuss and take action as necessary in a code of conduct and ethics. I point out here, 2.5 years ago, we considered implementing a code of ethics. It would establish standards for council, town employees, and committee members. This is kind of a continuation of that conversation, and I included in this the code of conduct that we kind of were working on. It's become a little bit of a Frankenstein, and that's my opinion. You know, it's like we've cut up a bunch of bodies and sewed them together, but they don't look like a human. So my inclination is to like throw this away and start over, because it's just makes my head hurt. It's got like so many changes, and I don't even know. So just for fun, and we did this the last time we considered this, I went to just some random towns that had short ones. My criteria was it couldn't be over 2 or 3 pages, because that's like way too many words. What I'm not trying to do is legislate every little aspect of our behavior, committee members' behaviors, whatever. It's just kind of like, hey, you represent the town of Poetry. We expect you to behave in a certain way, right? And because everybody's standards are different, we're going to go ahead and write those down, and we're going to ask you to look over them and make sure you don't have any issues. So, don't know how much time you spent looking at these. Personally, I like the Muleshoe, just because Muleshoe, Texas, because that's a cool name for a town.
I actually like the Alvin.
The who, Alvin?
Alvin, I thought it was pretty straightforward.
Okay, so let's start the conversation. Does anybody feel attached to Frankenstein?
No. No.
Doug? Frankenstein is a document we were working on 2.5 years ago. We recently resurrected it, but it still looks like Frankenstein.
Well, we have to realize, once we pass a code of conduct, we also have to do a code of ethics.
Yeah, well, a lot of them seem to have both sort of together, right? The
They're
last
similar,
page.
but they are different.
Yeah, the last page will be on some of these, I think, was like the ethics. It was 4 or 5 statements.
Yeah.
Does anybody on the council think we don't need a code of conduct, code of ethics to govern ourselves, our employees, and our committee members?
Oh, definitely, I think
Okay,
we do.
so we all think we need one. Now we just need to find one. Okay? Do you guys start talking? I mean, do
Okay,
any
well,
of the
My
3 or 4?
My 2 cents worth is for our first one, let's keep it pretty simple,
Short,
short.
short,
And,
really short.
and I mean, we're not Alvin. Alvin's 100 years old.
Right.
We're not Victoria. We're Muleshoe
That's
We're
all right.
built in Muleshoe.
or
what you
Hickory
said?
Creek or that other one. That's my only
I
thing.
like Victoria's
mean,
too, it's long though.
Quite honestly, I mean, poetry's got nothing we can steal right now, so let's
But,
just
you
keep
know,
it simple.
Well, I would love to keep it simple, but we are a full-fledged town.
There are some, there's
Right.
basic provisions, but I think that one little short paragraph, like one sentence or half a paragraph statement about each topic should be suffice for now.
Okay, so who of the six of us feels a passion or a calling on this topic? Does somebody, Tom, you're a great writer and English teacher, do you want to? I need somebody to champion this. I don't think we're going to solve this tonight. These were just examples of, they can be pretty succinct, okay? And I think ours should be very succinct. I think it should be.
I'll work with anybody. The Frankenstein is truly what you defined it. Councilman Vinson and myself pulled those from a lot. And the intent with that, because we'll hear tonight, I'm pretty sure that the state already has these.
Yes.
But they're not complete. Something like if I ask you for documents and you don't give them to me, the state doesn't address you not giving me documents that I have a right to see.
Well, and I do think, though, and we had this conversation a year or two ago whenever we were dealing with this, and I remember some of the words of our lawyer at the time, that we have to be careful that we don't put words in here that say, you know, we can
Yes.
prosecute, persecute, execute.
That's in the state law.
Well,
already.
Offenders.
we can sanction council members.
Well, and we got to figure out what that means, but I'm more concerned with not the consequence, I'm more concerned with sort of setting the standard and the expectations, right? And then the punitive part, I think we got to be careful, because we can't, for example, dismiss a council member or the mayor because they violated this. I mean,
No,
that's,
the
you're elected
sanction-
officials. You
Yeah, the
can't just
sanctions
be.
are simple for this.
State law
It's
allows
not.
More of a
Yeah,
strike.
state law has
State
it.
law does allow
Yeah.
that, just
Well,
to
but
be
that's,
clear.
but we're not rewriting state law.
Yeah,
This is our little document
That's right.
that says this is how we, the town council of the town of Poetry, expect each of us to conduct ourselves, right? And if we have committee members that join us, we expect them to conduct themselves the same way, right? They represent the town, so we want to make sure.
So what happens if somebody is in non-compliance with the code of conduct?
I guess that's my question too. Why write it if, not that I want these big bad tentacles that come along with it, but why write it?
Right.
We all say we want to be transparent. We always say we want to maintain confidentiality. We
Well,
all say we have
I guess I
ethics.
say that to say, I would encourage, and by the way, Tom, are you willing to help with this?
I guess, you know, from my view, and it's actually more like yours, I think, is that the company where I worked when we implemented these, it's 20-something years ago, we kept it very simple, just a couple of pages. And the idea was that we want to be sure that, you know, everybody understands, but we don't want to have a set of rules that tie down people. If we, and from a company's point of view, we said if we can't hire the right people, well, that's our fault. That, you know, we need to let them know what the goals are, what we're trying to do, and different issues. But we don't want to be telling them how to do it. We just want to let them know what's out
These
there,
are our
what they need to be aware of. So a lot of this, I mean, even like Victoria wants you to have, list your financial obligations. Well, you know, we don't need to get into a lot of things. We need to get into.
Well, and
basically-
some of them were 30 and 40 pages long, and
Oh,
that, to me,
yeah,
that's
we saw
absurd.
some really long ones.
That's not,
But-
okay, so I hear lots of passion in your voice, Tom, so
Well,
how about you and Terry?
Maybe I need to just review what y'all have. 'cause I
You
have a
and Terry
different
take the
idea.
lead, but again, my encouragement, you do what you want, bring it back to the council, and tell me when you're ready, but I encourage you, let's work on setting the expectations and start with that. We'll worry about the punitive thing later, right? What sanction, whatever, maybe we'll just
Well,
look you
that's
up
where
on
your
social
code of
media or
ethics comes
something.
in.
Well, Victoria's got it at the end of their
Yes, they do.
deal. Victoria has what happens.
I don't want to
because
start
of
with the
whatever.
punishment, I want to
Right.
start with
But
the
I think-
expectation.
But
I
we
think
need to
there are
be
interests-
aware that
there
there's
are-
consequences.
There
Well,
are interest
And
points
then
in
there also
Victoria.
needs to be some kind of something that people sign that say they recognize this.
And that's
Yes.
fine.
It
Well, that's
doesn't
2 years.
mean that they have to be, it has to be a totally legal contract, but it's a recognition. And I guess
Acknowledge
that's,
that they received it.
yeah, and so
But
I
if we
guess,
have, if we have a committee and somebody gets kicked off the committee for violating a code of conduct. What's the ramifications of that?
They kicked off.
Well, committee
What
members are
can
easy, and
they-
even employees are easy. It's council members, elected officials, I think, that are the sticky.
So
It's not
Mike,
it's not as easy as you think.
you're asking me to make a first draft?
No, you and Terry.
Well, I mean,
Go, Tom, you can do it.
Terry, he's off busy fighting fires and building fences.
Oh, he's passionate about it.
I
He said he'd
understand
help.
that.
Y'all have got my draft. So if y'all
No,
want to
we
go
just-
another direction,
We just,
So I don't mind making a first draft and then passing it to Terry or
Yeah.
anybody else.
and I can work with you. I mean, I
But-
can be, I don't count, so I can be involved, but let's kind of throw something together and see what we come up with. You know, I think one of the things I've realized in my life at least is everybody's sort of standards and expectations and beliefs are not the same as mine, right? And so it's silly for me to think that everybody that joins one of our committees or every employee just is just naturally going to fall in line with what I expect of them, right? I think it's fair, and I think it's prudent to write it down and say, listen, this is what we expect, and we need you to either agree or disagree.
Well, and a reason I kind of disagree with you really is that we don't have a big budget, we don't have a lot of employees, we don't have a lot of financial reasons to worry about. It's basically us, you know, it's who you see is what you got. And so if we had 200 employees and, you know, 100 million, we were like City of Dallas with huge budgets, then I can see where you have to have more goals out there specifically stated. But given that it's just the 5 of us and then the 2 secretaries,
And then your
then
volunteer road
if we can't trust ourselves, then whatever, we don't really need to be here. And the same with
I think it's,
secretaries.
but we're not always going to be, you know, teeny little poetry. I think we're
Well-
kind of setting the ground for
Well,
future.
yeah, and Mike, you know, no doubt 100 years from now, you're right. It's going to be maybe 50 years from now. I'm not going to be around, so I'm not worried about it. But on the other hand, what do we need to do for right now? And my view is keep it simple
Very
to what
simple.
we have,
One, maybe 2 pages.
which
I mean,
is a
just real simple.
$300,000 budget and, you know, 5 people plus the 2 secretaries.
well, why don't we point it more in the direction of volunteer
committees.
for confidentiality and things like that. If what I'm hearing you say, and I don't disagree, is we're kind of holding ourselves to that standard, to my point is, those people were just selected, right? So if we have a committee that's helping us do something, not that there's not a need for transparency, don't hear me in that aspect, but confidentiality, if Mike has asked that committee to work on something that he's going to report on next time, they need to understand that that's confidential, go get whatever. And I'm not saying that's the case, but what I'm getting at is, why don't we write this more towards the volunteer section? Does that make sense? They don't have any expectations
Because we
right
are
now.
volunteers.
Well, we're all volunteers.
Well, okay, I understand we're elected volunteers, but they have no direction. They don't understand that they're an image for this town.
Right.
Right? And they need to understand that we want to present a professional image, you know, whatever. Or we can just scrap it. Mike put this on there because I probably asked him too many times when we're going to
I don't
vote on
think
it.
we scrap it. We need something. We need some kind of 10 commandments or
Well-
something that just says, this is how we roll. So, Tom, you wow us with something, and if it's short, it's got a really good chance.
Well,
That's all I'm going to
yeah, that's fine. Now that,
Thank you, Tom.
500 words or less.
How many?
500 words or less.
but I do like Muleshoe's approach.
Yeah,
in
very
general.
simple. It's like
Just
the
keep
10
it simple.
commandments. It's real short.
2 pages.
Okay, we're not going to take any action on this, by the way, other than thanking Tom and Terry for stepping up, helping us. We have some citizens who want to speak on this. Tarsekovich? You want to speak? Okay. Robin Followell? Ryan? Are we still on the honor system, or is the blinky thing working?
I'm here for a quick word.
Okay, good. Don't even start it, because it's hard to stop it.
Ryan Luce, Poetry.
Okay,
That's it.
got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the majority, I get, yes, let's cut it down, make it simple. Be careful not to make it too narrow, though.
Yeah.
Remember, we don't have laws for the majority, we have laws for the minorities who aren't following the rules. So just remember, you'd be surprised how often you have to tell an adult, no, you have to show up to work on time.
Right. Yeah.
And there has to be a policy for it. Same with, no, you can't drink at work. So,
That was
again,
obvious, right?
yeah, you would think it was obvious, but it's not.
It's
So
not,
just,
yeah.
great opportunity to, kind of make sure it's not too narrow and that you can hold people accountable very simply.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Okay. On my copy of the agenda here, let's get back to the agenda. So, well, that's not the agenda. I've lost the agenda. The meeting is over. Here it is. Okay, we're down to number 4. Discuss and take action as necessary on $615.33 shortfall in volunteer road crew funding. So according to Secretary Teresa, she went through the last year's worth of minutes and found everywhere that council had approved funding for the volunteer road crew for materials, equipment rental, whatever, and put all of that on this document that you have in front of you and that was in the packet. It's got a lot of highlighter yellow on it. And basically, when we added all the puts and takes up, we ended up $615.33 in the hole. According to her, there was an expenditure for the cold patch material on 7/11/24. 7/11/24, so that's what, a year ago, in the amount of $1,296.10. That's probably 2 loads. That wasn't in the calculation somehow. And so we ended up in the hole. Now, if you look at the bottom left of that little spreadsheet, we do show the 2 escrow amounts that we approved at last meeting that total $10,000. She's backed that out of the $38,900, which leaves the $28,900 expenses. So we approved, we basically didn't approve enough. So we can have a short discussion. I don't think it needs to be very long, but basically just to kind of clean things up, I'd like to get a motion from council to approve $615.33.
Before you speak, Bruce. You asking for a motion before?
Not yet. We're going to let the citizens speak, but I'm just telling you, that's where we're headed here. So we just, I don't know that we need to do this, but I feel like it's the right thing to do.
Yes, we have to do it.
So
We
that
have
puts
to.
us at, okay, we have to do it. That puts us at 0, basically, so we're just cleaning this up. Now, I will say again, I think I said this earlier, going forward with our QuickBooks and the new version, we are going to track each of these in QuickBooks. We're not going to do it on a separate piece of paper or in a spreadsheet or whatever. It's all going to be in QuickBooks, and we're going to use, I think PO is the right way to refer to it, but something like a purchase order. So if I go buy a load of asphalt for the crew, we'll get a PO. That'll be recorded in QuickBooks. The approval that council gave to spend $2,000 or whatever to buy that stuff will be in QuickBooks. QuickBooks will reconcile it, right? So we won't have this, we're off a couple of bucks here. So any discussion from council before we hear from the citizens?
Did I not hear last month that we had $3,000?
Well, our math was off. This is what we have. I trust Teresa.
Yeah.
I went through today, every minute, every one of our minutes,
and verify that.
continuous, and I found exactly what she found. So
And I did the same thing.
I believe her numbers are
Yes.
correct. And so again, we're not pointing fingers at anybody. We're $615.33 short. I just want to clean that up. That's all. We're
Okay.
not here to indict or look back. I just want to fix that. So any conversation on that?
Good idea.
Now, I do
Yes.
want to, go ahead, Tom.
Yes.
Good idea.
You good?
Tom likes it.
I like it.
I like it.
In QuickBooks, will we be able to see what roads we've spent money on? Or how do we capture that?
Well, I bet you can, but I'm not QuickBooks, so I
Okay.
don't know. But Teresa understands what we're trying to accomplish,
Okay.
and I suspect, because she just loves this stuff,
Okay.
I bet she's going to figure out a way to do that. So we need to track that. Partly, I think, so we can answer to the citizens. So when they say, you've never worked on my road, we can say, well, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. You know, we've spent whatever. Okay, signed up to speak on this, Tara Sekovich. Okay, Robin Followell? Ryan Lutz? Okay. Laura, did you tell me somebody had a write-in question on something? Was that general comments? Oh, okay. Yeah, if you ever have something you want to bring up and you just want to send it in an email, we will read it for you if you can't stay or if...
So Mike, where are we going to take the money from? General fund?
Well, we have the money. It's not a matter of we don't have the money. It's just a matter
Okay.
of approved funding. We got
All right.
plenty of,
Well, then I make a
$600
motion.
ain't going to hurt us.
Make a
It's just-
motion, we approve the $615.33.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the shortfall, $615.33 from Councilman Anderson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Fowler. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous, that passes. Do my little approve stamp here, that makes it official. Okay, so now we move on to general comments. Wow, we're humming along here.
Are we?
I think we are. We are until they get up and start talking, and then we may find out we're not humming along.
True.
Speak on the agenda, okay, bear with me a second. I'll put my sign-up sheet here somewhere.
I just seen it with your other one.
Yeah, it was just here. Where'd it go? That long boy.
No, it's
Where's
in
your
there.
last one? I thought
Keep
it was
looking.
stuck to behind
It's mixed in with other papers.
I've had that problem all that long.
Me too.
Is that not it?
No, that's the agenda items.
Okay, that's what I
Okay, bear with me, it's, apparently it's escaped. Boy, that's weird.
You slid it between something.
Yeah, hang on. Okay, good news, the air conditioner went off, we're not gonna freeze to death. Not there, not there, not there. Really strange.
You have a tab? Look behind that page.
Do what?
Look behind your QuickBooks page right there. Make sure that, looks like there's
No, it's
several
not.
pages stuck together.
I was just looking at it, it was just right here. Like it disappeared. The air conditioner blew it away. Okay, yeah, we're going to the honor system here in
Yeah.
just a second, because I don't want to keep everybody. Okay, who signed up for general
Well, Mayor
comments?
Mike, I signed up first, that's all I know, so.
Okay.
That's why I'm
Tara
here.
Sekovich, general comments.
Yes,
Go.
sir. Thank you. Okay, so word of affirmation, yes, the road looked much better. Good job, volunteer road crew. I
Thank
know
you.
that 2 loads is a lot, been there, so good job, and thank you. So I've had some citizens, astonishingly didn't know that I was no longer mayor, to reach out to me, so I'm like giving your number. I hope you don't mind. But I did have some feedback, and they were saying that they really wanted the bank reconciliation was confusing for many, so they want the month-end report. I think the way that it's formatted could be changed so that you could see a little more of the detail, so that you would appease maybe some of that. So, and the other option, QuickBooks is a good program, but there are some limitations, and it's very frustrating sometimes. But if you put enough on the memo, then you might have some of the same information, because you will have the beginning balance, ending balance, but I think that detail is for full transparency. The advantage to having the month end was that you had exactly what that was for. So if you tweak the format of it, then you might be able to include more of that memo on there, but you would have to have that inputted, of course. So for that, more of that transparency that I think some of the citizens that I've been hearing from want. Also, I was going to say, the next auditor that we looked at, switching gears, it was like $10,000, so the $5,000 looks really nice compared to that. Also, Tom is great at the edits. He keeps us looking professional. So I was going to say, on the minutes, I really appreciate him going through and making sure that we don't have the typos and misspelling. So kudos to Tom. There's another word of affirmation there for you, because that is important. It is a legal document, and so he excels at that. And so thank you for continuing that. One of the big misses that I was hoping we would see tonight was when you start doing the budget, if we're going to get this grant going, we need a grant administrator and we need a grant engineer. So that's a huge chart of account item that probably needs to be implemented. And that, from what I understand, of course, I've never done it, but from what I understand, it can be a 3-month process. So, okay, thank you.
Shelley Smith, you're up next. Just as a point of order, so, or information, I guess. My policy is going forward, all financial reports will come out of QuickBooks, period. We're not going to generate things to the side, so I appreciate the comment and the fact that if we do month end or some other type of format, it will come out of our accounting system. We're not going to like type numbers into Word documents and things, because we make mistakes and then we look, so. Shelley.
Okay, so in talking to people about the proposed budget and how we really are short a lot of money in the town, and the possibility of not if, but when we do a property tax, I did some numbers just based on my house and my neighbors. If we charged a quarter for each $100 valuation, my property alone would bring in $4. My neighbor on the other side, whose house is 100% inside the line, would end up, his property taxes would go up $625. My neighbor on the other side, whose house is split down the middle with the property line, would, I'm so sorry, I will keep my hands down, would bring in, okay, so right now, Kaufman has the 2 properties set up so that they have his house included in the back half of his property. So his front half of the property would not bring in much, would bring in more than mine because his is not under ag exemption. But if you put his house in there, which would happen, his property taxes would go up to $1,812.
Yep.
I'm paying $4, he's paying $1,800. I know you guys are fully aware of all of this, but I think that the majority of citizens have not actually sat down and looked at that. So I'm saying this now so that people can start thinking along this line. Also, I am doing some work for a very prominent developer at the moment, and he came into the studio today, and I told him that poetry had incorporated in order to keep out development. Do you know what his response was?
Good luck.
He laughed. And I said, our town is 36 and a half miles long, 622 feet wide. He laughed even harder. So y'all, I don't know where this is going, but I'm only in for $4. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Robin Followell?
Okay, so first off, kudos on what road that y'all did get done. It was so nice. That's 2326. That was so nice to have that fixed. I know you said 2400's coming up, so we're good on that. I also just wanted to thank our wonderful people over here, the Leehoos, about helping with setting everything up. I absolutely love the new sign-up sheet. That makes it so easy for us to sign up for stuff to speak. And I'm really looking forward to the committees that y'all are wanting to develop so that we can try to get things going and all that. Like I've said before, I'm willing to make time for whatever committees or workshops or volunteer stuff that we want to try to do for the town. Like I said, I have no problem helping with that. I don't know much about it, but I'm just going to still put my 2 cents in. I know that it was talked about the grant and how we're gonna have to have extra people, administrators and engineers. Those people cost a lot of money. And I don't remember ever hearing that being talked about before every time the grant was mentioned. So that's another budget thing, I guess, that y'all can research too. My last thing, and I'm probably gonna get kicked off the stand, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I feel, as a citizen that voted for this council, very disrespected when our ex-mayor comes up here and starts talking like nobody knew that she wasn't the mayor, or like it's all still coming to her. Y'all are our people. And I know I'm not the only one, because I can hear ums and all that. I'm not the only one that feels that way. Y'all are our council, y'all are our mayor. She had her 4 years. It's not about her, the way she used to do it. Y'all are changing the things for us, vision for that y'all think is gonna be good for us. You can have your opinion on it, but don't just keep referring it back to you, because our voices was heard, what we wanted. And I just feel like it's very disrespectful that it keeps getting pushed in our face. And like I said, I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. I may be the only one that gets up here and tells you how I feel about it. But I appreciate all the hard work that y'all put in, and the time and the dedication. And I just think maybe we all just need to be a little more mindful and respectful to our new council and mayor.
Thank you, Robin. Next up, Carol Lee. I don't know Carol, but is anybody still in the room? Okay. Dennis Jenkins? Uh-oh, he's got notes.
I don't know if y'all have any mind left now. It's been a long night, right?
Good.
But thank you. My name is Dennis Jenkins. I live at 1600 State Highway 34 Bypass, also known as County Road 249.
Yes, sir.
3 things. I'm here to ask for a progress report concerning the petition that I brought last month, if you're able to do that, please. Number 2, I want you to be aware, I've taken the petition to DPS and to Kaufman County Sheriff, and I think if you feel like you could also reinforce that petition, I believe it'd be a whole lot more influence than just me as an individual, so I would appreciate your consideration on that. Here's a good strategy, I think. Number 3, my neighbor Chuck Ballard, who has lived here for 30 years, voiced something to me that I think might be something to really consider. We have signs that say no through trucks with a weight limit. And then there's a couple places where we just have no through trucks. And his suggestion was that if we take off that weight limit and just have no through trucks, if you have a weight limit on it, then for to write a ticket on it, they have to bring scales. It's a whole different ball game, I understand. But if you have just no through trucks, any officer can write a ticket on that. So my suggestion is, and let me ask you this question, is if we don't have large trucks going down 249, if another one never goes down there, is that any loss to our town? I don't think so. I think all that's going to do is help our road. We're talking about the road here and the money we're having to spend, and you know, that's going to be an ongoing thing. I think we could really limit that if we could get the trucks off, and I don't think we could lose a thing by it. Also, Chuck suggested maybe if we put the no through truck sign, not the weight limit, that we might can contact Google and tell them we have no through truck signs, don't send them down this shortcut. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
You wanted to clarify that it's a GVWR rating, they don't have to have skills. Just for
Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Jenkins, just for clarification and everybody out here, they don't have to have skills to enforce that. It goes off the GVWR of the registered vehicle.
So, yeah,
No, I'm sorry. So they don't have to have skills to enforce it. The ordinance and the signs go off the GVWR, which is the rating on the truck identifier. Okay.
Now we got about 35,000?
33, I believe. Yeah, so their GVWR rating is in their truck, just like if you open the door on any pickup truck. And it doesn't matter what they're hauling. They could weigh at 18,000 pounds. If they have the capacity to haul 33,000 pounds, then that's the ticket. Just for clarification on that. I don't know about on enforcement. That's a whole nother deal, but they don't have to have skills to write that ticket.
Did you happen to find any progress, anybody going to do anything? Or I did see one county sheriff come down my road there. That's all I've seen.
Yeah, it's in the works. I mean, I've got your petition, and I'm talking with the commissioners and judges in all three counties, because I'd also like to get Lauren Lichty up at the Rockwall end to consider doing some enforcement up at that little stretch before they get on. But, you know, the other thing we could do is if you run Waze on your phone, if you'll just drive over there somewhere and just say there's a wreck.
There you go, that's a good one.
And if we just do that all day long, there's a wreck, there's a wreck, there's a wreck. Everybody will get rerouted. Okay, Ryan?
Ryan Lewis, Town of Poetry. I've heard mention of a survey. My understanding is that the survey was completed as required by our legal obligation. I'm curious why we're considering investing in another on-the-ground survey when most towns and cities don't do that, because there's not really add value to it. Most towns and cities do it as needed if they come up to real property rights issues. And I would implore you all to just think about anything we spend money on, what value is it adding to the town?
Okay.
So
Thank
nothing
you, Ryan.
factual, but I invite you to speak with me again, as we've already had this conversation once, but we can discuss it again.
Okay.
About why I feel like we need that, but we don't have to have it here.
Yep, we are humans, we have our own opinions, but we act as a group, so we'll stay together on that. Okay, that's it for general comments. Meeting adjourned at 8:50. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Careful.